sign stealing deal. And yeah, I think that a lot of teams, a lot of fans will be watching this series, and they'll be able to see the Twins are legit, and they're a pretty good team.
Yeah, I think the Twins definitely have the potential to make it to at least the ALCS.
Yeah, no, I would say they could go that far too. I mean, if the winner of this series takes on the winner of the A's and the White Sox series, and
Yeah.
I think that either one of these teams, you know, the Twins ended up finishing what a game or two ahead of the White Sox for the AL Central Division title, and the Astros were comfortably behind the A's all year. But I think especially
Hmm.
if it is the Twins that we see make it out of this series, um, they match up as very well with either the A's or the White Sox.
Yeah, I think what's kind of fun about this year's playoff field is that, especially on the AL side, you legitimately could see any one of like 4 or 5 teams make it. Like, in the argument for each team is good enough to be like, yeah, I can see that happening, getting to all the way to the World
Oh
Series.
yeah,
Like, I'd say you can definitely build a case for the Rays, the A's, the Yankees, the Twins. Like, definitely some strong cases even for the White Sox,
yeah. A lot of people picking the Indians too. A lot of people have faith in the
the
Indians in this
Indians
one too.
too. I forgot about the Indians.
And
Like, the only two teams, like, or I mean, I feel like a lot of people don't have a ton of faith in Houston this year, in the playoffs, but I mean, they can still come out and do something.
yeah, I don't know. There's it's definitely valid to be concerned with how hard hitting their lineup is. You
Hmm.
know, Alex Bregman was their best hitter in 2019, and he took a
Yeah.
serious step back this year.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, but Brantley's been hitting well. Springer's been hitting well. You know, they still got the guys in their lineup for sure.
Yeah. It's just a matter of how they actually produce here.
Yeah, no, and it feels like a very long time since they were in the World Series, but it was a year ago that they lost the World Series in 7 games.
Hmm.
Yeah, solid contact there from Brantley.
He's trying to stretch it to 2, and he's going to make it in. Nice.
And he's a guy that I think is really easy to forget about on that
That
Astros
roster.
roster. Yeah, because I mean you've got the Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, George Springer, and those are the guys
Hmm.
that were really centerpieces of the 2016 title. Brantley came in, if I'm not mistaken, before 2018,
I believe so.
and he's been very good in that lineup since
Hmm.
then.
Yeah, former Indian, correct?
Correct. Yeah, he was with the Cleveland Indians. So I believe he was also in the 2016 World Series with the Indians.
Yeah. He was like he was a very good player in Cleveland as well.
Hmm.
And I believe he got hurt or had a down year before he came over to Houston.
Yes, that is right.
One of those two, if not both.
His his free agent stock was his value as a free agent was not quite as high as he's ended up being producing for the Astros. He signed with the Astros before 2019. He was with the Indians through 2018.
Okay.
So I was actually incorrect. I believe he was injured for that 2016 season. He only
Okay.
played 11 games in 2016, and he may not have been there with the World Series team. But yeah, I mean, in an Indians roster, they've definitely felt the void in their outfield offensive production that's been missing since Brantley left.
Yeah. I think that was one of the big mistakes they've made in the last few years is letting him walk.
Hmm.
Like, Brantley's a very talented hitter, and Houston's able to see that even though his free agent value was so like down. But they looked past it, and they've definitely gotten a big help in that lineup that was already pretty solid.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, concerns about his health were absolutely valid. He,
Mhm.
you know, in his 2 of the 3 years before his walk year, 2016, obviously, I said he played only 11 games. 2017, he only played half the season. But in 2018, I mean, he was pretty close to his career production in 2018, and he played a full 143 games. That's a good part of a season. Um, so you know, he hit the free agent market as a 31-year-old, and you can't necessarily say that Cleveland should have been all in on him, but it's hard to see in retrospect. It's hard to see them letting him go after
Yeah.
what he was able to do,
Oh yeah.
what he's been able to do here in Houston.
And I mean, the innings now we're changing sides here. Moving over to the Twins lineup, which is also very dangerous. Any of those players can go bomb or go yard, hit a bomb at any time.
Hmm.
It's kind of been their thing. I think it's been fun this year to see Byron Buxton play so well.
I would agree. Yeah, he's a guy that it's kind of hard to root against, I would say,
I'd agree.
unless you're a White Sox fan this year.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah, Byron Buxton. I remember when he first got called up, and then he hasn't before this year hadn't really produced much. He had much loftier expectations than what he was actually producing, what he was able to
yeah,
do on a field.
he was a
And
number one
finally,
overall draft pick, right?
I think so. But actually seeing him produce this year and being kind of vital in this this Twins team that's played so well, it's been really nice to watch happen.
And I think he's one of a few players that has more home runs than walks on the season.
That would not at all surprise me.
So we've got him hitting second here in this Twins lineup,
Mm-hmm.
and don't look for him to get on base unless he makes contact with the ball somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Nelson Cruz has been just absolutely killer for the Twins this year.
Nelson Cruz is also another player that you just can't root against the guy.
Yeah,
Nelson Cruz is so much fun.
Nelson Cruz versus Zach Greinke is certainly a matchup of beloved seasoned veterans that
You could have had this matchup 10 years ago.
yeah, and
Still be just as good.
That's about what I was gonna say. It would have been just as good
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's a funky stance.
Is that Arias leading off?
Yeah. Yep.
That's an interesting lineup construction.
Yeah. I haven't watched a lot of Twins baseball this year.
Nor have I.
Don't let the hat and jersey fool you. I do like the Twins a lot. I'm a fan. But
Yeah,
finding this hat also took me so long. It's so hard to find an old school M hat.
I bet it's a good look. That's for sure.
I love this hat. It's probably my favorite one. Yeah. We got this is a good pitching matchup for sure.
Yeah, Arias. Yeah. Yeah, Arias had he hit 321 this year, but he doesn't really take walks himself either. 6.6 walk rate, percent walk rate. So it's an interesting move, I would say, as the Twins, and I don't know that they necessarily have guys that do walk a ton, but it's an interesting move to put Arias and now Buxton as the top two guys in your lineup.
Yeah. It's definitely I'd call it more of an old school lineup construction where you just kind of put that pure speed at the top.
Yeah.
Because Buxton, I think, if I remember correctly, is 99 percentile sprint speed in the majors.
Yep. He's fast.
According to Baseball Savant.
But yeah, Buxton has that a 254 batting average they just showed.
Yep.
And yeah, his on base percentage is barely 10 points higher than that. 267.
That man, this man just refuses to walk. He just wants to run.
If you had ISO, which is isolated like power, is slugging minus batting average. I think if you had the same thing but slugging minus on base percentage, Buxton would lead the majors.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. It seems regular. Seems pretty expected.
Because his his slugging percentage is a full 310 higher than his on base percentage.
Really?
Yep. They showed
that's almost impressive.
Yeah, they put up that he has like an 844 OPS, almost 600 of that is slugging.
All right. Well, he's on base now. So we'll see what he can do on the base paths here, see if he can get into Greinke's head. He's definitely a guy you have to worry about on the base paths.
Yeah, he's speedy, but they haven't really used him to steal bases this season. He's only had 3 stolen base attempts this year.
Yeah. You know, he doesn't have like that, like you said, they have only 3 stolen bases, but you still know he can take off at any time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Just him being on base early in the game can do enough
And there he goes.
to the pitcher.
Did,
Oh, he beat it by a mile.
Didn't take long for him to grab second base.
Yeah. Well, in this postseason so far, already has the third of his regular season stolen bases. And we are in the first inning of postseason baseball. But yeah, he's just so fast.
Yeah, no, blazing. I think he's got to be top 10 in sprint speed, and he has been for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like he's been around for a long time, but he's still only 26 years old.
Yeah, I feel like he's been around for at least 3-4 seasons.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds right to me. I could be wrong. But
Oh, it's interesting to have Max Kepler third, too. He, 9 home runs, but he's not exactly having a career offensive year.
yeah, like I said, I think for whatever reason, he's going with that speed at the top of the lineup here. You know, it's definitely a strategy you haven't seen for a while. The last team I can remember doing this is the 2015 Royals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you certainly can't justify Alcides Escobar as your leadoff hitter based on his ability to get on base.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pure speed does so much, though.
Dexter Fowler with the 2016 Cubs was a little bit like that, too. You know, he wasn't like an excellent on-base guy.
Yeah.
He was more of a prototypical leadoff hitter.
Right. So, yeah, we have, like, speaking of those Royals, that 2015 World Series run, Mondesi was the first, or not the first, but the last rookie to debut in the postseason. And we have, how do you say his last name again? Kirilloff, right?
Alex
for the Twins.
Kirilloff, I believe.
Kirilloff, rostered on for the Twins, hasn't made his major league debut yet. So if he appears in this series, in this game, it will be his major league debut. Will be the third guy ever to do it, and the first since Mondesi in 2015.
Yeah, which is certainly an interesting development.
Yeah, he gets that distinction because of Donaldson not being on this roster.
Yeah, which is certainly a tough blow for the Twins, no matter how way you put it.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, he didn't have the best year of his career by any means, but, I mean, you do miss that in the lineup. It makes the lineup a little more potent.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a guy that's been there, too. I mean, he was on postseason teams with the 2015 Blue Jays for sure when he won MVP that year, I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
MVP. And last year with the Braves, also made the playoffs. 2018 wasn't his best year, but he had a bounce back last year. And the Twins took advantage of that, which, absolutely a justifiable contract. But yeah, interesting that he's taken a step back this year. He's one of many players that has. It's certainly not an isolated case, but he, as much as anyone, has the potential to break out in this postseason. And it's sad to see their lineup without him, even with all the other guys they have that are capable of dealing damage. And speaking of dealing damage, here comes Mr. Damage for the Twins this year.
Yeah, Nelson Cruz stepping up to the plate after Kepler takes the walk, which, oddly enough, wasn't really expected. Yeah, Cruz has been incredible this year. Very much could win that AL MVP, I'd say.
Yeah.
very much in that discussion.
Well, and talking about the AL MVP race, Jose Ramirez really came on late, and it's easy to forget how hot Nelson Cruz was to start the year.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like with a lot of those voting, you get the bias of whoever's hot when the season
Yep.
ends, which is kind of unfortunate because, like, especially like this year, because the season was so short, you forget Nelson Cruz was the man at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
Like,
no
he was
doubt.
incredible.
We talk we talk about him and Buxton, and White Sox fans listening are probably all cringing because I think both of them had their best performances of the year against the White Sox.
Yeah, they did. I mean, White Sox fans, if there are any listening right now, are probably too focused on that game that starts in about half an hour there
Yeah,
for
they
them.
won't. They probably won't be listening to us at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of good baseball on today. That White Sox A's matchup is also going to be fun. It's Luzardo versus Giolito, correct?
Yes, I believe that is the pitching matchup. Which there's been some talk about that starter choice for the A's. Um, you've probably heard by now that the White Sox have gone 14-0 in games when the other team starts a left-handed pitcher, and so
Mhm.
the A's are sending out young lefty and Luzardo, and I believe Tim Anderson said after that was announced that apparently the A's hadn't done their homework on the
Yeah,
series,
I did see that.
um, which the A's were kind of like, yeah, no, but we have faith in our guy. Um,
Mhm.
so that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. And one other interesting thing I'd say is since the exhibition games before the season started, this is the first official game of 2020 um, between two teams that are not from the same region of the country. If you consider the East, Central, West as three regions that each are
Yeah,
separated into two divisions, this is the first game um, that is between teams that aren't either both in the Central, both in the West, or both in the East. Um,
yeah.
and I think that's an interesting thing too for that particular matchup with White Sox and A's, um, because
They haven't seen each other.
yeah, and it's like it almost makes me think like what lefties have the White Sox seen. Obviously there's
Yeah,
at least a couple good ones, but you've also got your John Lesters thrown in who are just kind of um, older and not what they once were. So
yeah.
I would be interested to know who those 14 lefties that the White Sox faced were, because
Mhm.
obviously the White Sox did hit them really well, and you got to give them credit for that. But who, you know, it's possible that Luzardo is as good as any of those guys they've faced.
Yeah, Luzardo's definitely a not non-armed help. He's been pretty good this season. He throws hard. It's fun to watch for sure. For an A's team that I'd also say is pretty fun to watch, even without Chapman in that lineup. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it
no
might be the
doubt.
theme of this postseason. Just third baseman, just not with their teams.
Don't let's not talk about that too much more. I need a healthy Chris Bryant.
No, my team's out. My team's gone. Got screwed by Rob Drake. Still not happy about that.
Yeah, no, it's hard to blame you. Um, Yeah, and no matter what happens here, the Twins have put Greinke to work in the first inning. He's about to throw his 20th pitch.
A high stress inning for him.
Yeah, he's full count now against Nelson Cruz, which never makes you feel great as a pitcher, I'm sure.
Cruz has been. He's. I think he's seen at least 6 or 7 pitches here.
Yeah.
Like he's got a pretty long at bat going already.
Hmm.
The next pitch to him will be number 8. So Greinke has thrown 20 pitches, 7 of them so far to Nelson Cruz, and him being the probably I'd say the best hitter in this game, arguably.
Yeah.
Definitely the less pitches to him, the better.
Yeah. And the Twins and their Cruz draws a walk. So Greinke's still got only one out now, and the bases are loaded. And this Twins roster, if they can get to the Astros bullpen early and they can start wearing that bullpen out in this 3-game series where it's either 2 or 3 games in as many days, um, that'll be huge for the Twins because Greinke is probably one of the best pitchers that the Astros are rostering right now. And so if the Astros start having to
Absolutely.
dip into that bullpen, um, we can see their pitching wear thin pretty quickly in this series.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be huge for all of these wild card series because they're so short. If you can get into a bullpen early, it's going to be kind of rough on those teams who are going to have to throw out so many arms like so quickly in so many innings.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be interesting to see kind of how a team like the Rays fare with that because they do love their relievers and using like openers and all of that. So
Yeah.
definitely see how strategy might change.
Well, and we're talking about we've brought up this Indians pitching staff, and that might be somewhere where they and teams that have deep rotations are really
Uh-huh.
able to prosper because like we saw with the Nationals last
Absolutely.
year, bring in good starters in relief, and you don't necessarily have to have a good bullpen. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so the Indians have the luxury of bringing a Tristan McKenzie out of the bullpen, say, that most teams just don't have. I mean, speaking from what I know about the Cubs, they after Kyle Hendricks and after Yu Darvish, their rotation starts to run pretty thin, and so they have Alec Mills, they have Jose Quintana, who are fairly reliable as starters, as long relief options, but they're certainly not Tristan McKenzie. They can't get strikeouts like he can, and that type of stuff. And so, um, in this 3-game series, a lot of people have talked about how pitching is paramount. And I think especially having guys that you can stretch out and give you reliable innings, most important.
Absolutely. And you got here the pitching coach for the Astros coming to talk to Greinke after 23 pitches and a 2-0 count with the bases loaded with only one out to Eddie Rosario. You got this. This game's already starting off to be pretty interesting.
Certainly not what the Astros would have hoped to see at this point.
Oh, absolutely not.
And it makes you
So we'll see how this
it
goes.
makes you feel good to have a guy like Greinke on the mound here, and it's not like you're throwing out like a Jesus Luzardo, who's a rookie navigating his first postseason start. Um,
Oh yeah,
and Greinke, he's been with several teams in his career. I don't know how many times he's actually been to the postseason. He would have gone with the Brewers in 2011 and the Dodgers in
Dodgers a few
2017 for
times.
sure. Woo! He got lucky there.
Yeah, I'll line out to first on absolute missile by Rosario.
To the freshly extended, a little bit confusing of an extension, Yuli Gurriel.
Yeah, if you didn't see the official, I believe it was a tweet that is like extended for. I believe it read 2021 hours before the first game. But if you read it, a little interestingly odd in your head, it made it sound like the extension was just for 2021 hours, which is equivalent to about 84 days.
Yeah,
So it's like enough to get you to the postseason, I guess. But yeah, he has been extended for another year with the Astros.
yeah, and interesting there. You could argue that the Twins were maybe lucky to have Nelson Cruz on first base because you could see that ball was hit right at Gurriel and he broke for first base immediately after to try and get the double play.
Uh-huh.
And you could argue if you've got a guy like Buxton on first base in that situation, he might just take off. And then,
He's much further off the bag.
yeah, that's for sure. Um, I don't know. That was just kind of a thought I had.
Yeah, definitely. And like, or at least, or even like a young guy, like a rookie, who probably wouldn't have the quite his presence of mind to like know that he's going to immediately break for that bag.
Mhm.
Uh, Cruz is definitely a good player to have in that spot. Yeah. Sano now at the plate with a 1-2 count here, who's also kind of struggled a little bit this year.
Yeah, he's
Batting
always been
average not very high.
no, and he's always been a little bit of a strikeout warrior.
Yeah,
And that was no different.
but when he gets a hold of one, it'll go a mile.
Yeah, big
We'll
guy
see.
as you can see.
Oh yeah, it's an absolute unit. So let's see here. Greinke approaching 30 pitches. His next pitch will be his 29th.
Yeah,
But
still I think if at this point it's hard to argue that the Twins will be super satisfied if they come out of this without a run on the board.
I wouldn't be.
Yeah. Obviously you've worked Greinke a little bit, but
It's better than a 1-2-3 inning. That's for sure.
yeah,
But
but you don't win the game by making your opponent throw more pitches than you do.
correct. You want to get at least 1 or 2 runs here, like minimum. Ideally, you'll get all 3 base runners across, but Greinke's making some pretty good pitches, and Sano is you got to give it to him. He's got a good eye here in this at bat.
Yeah. So he's about to throw his 30th pitch. Excuse me, of the afternoon.
And it's still bottom one. Full count to Sano. What do you think he throws here?
That's a good question. I mean, he just tried that. What was that? His slider, bottom
Yeah,
bottom outside corner, and Sano didn't offer. So he probably won't go back to that. I
I
don't
think it's a
know.
fastball up and in.
I think he's gonna go for a high fastball. Yeah, inside curveball, which great play by Bregman.
Yeah, that was very, very fortunate for the Astros there. He makes weak contact on that ball.
Yeah, well, I thought that might end up being a swinging bunt that the Twins got really lucky on, but
Yeah,
Bregman made a great play charging that. Um, and you've got Sano, who is not a very fast runner,
no, not at all.
lumbering down the base paths, and he barely got beat. Um, which, yeah, I mean, like we said, if you're the Twins, not a great feeling to come out of that inning with no runs.
Yeah, and this
Oh, it was actually closer than I thought.
it's a very close play at first.
I don't know if the Twins want to spend their challenge on that.
Um, After seeing a second angle of that, I wouldn't if I were the Twins there.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he's out comfortably enough that you want to save that.
yeah, but he definitely made that closer than you think it would be for, you know, it being Sano running down the first base line.
Yeah. Oh, they did challenge.
They did, and it was confirmed out at first
All
base
confirmed. Yeah. So that's a tough break for the Twins. They come out of the inning with no runs, and now they do not have a challenge for the rest of the game.
until the seventh, right?
That might be the rule. I don't know for sure.
At least in the regular season. I don't know if the postseason rules changed that at all. The regular season is after the seventh. You can just challenge whatever you want.
Oh, really? I didn't realize they made that change.
Yeah. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I believe I've seen a lot of challenges late innings this year.
Okay.
So I could be wrong. If anyone listening knows this better than we do, feel free to call us
Yeah.
out.
Drop a
Tell
comment.
us we're wrong.
But yeah,
Yeah.
the even if that's the case, the Twins go the better part of this afternoon game without a challenge at their expense.
Right.
Um, and we may or may not see that coming into play. I think that's as close as any play we'll see this afternoon. So it's
Right.
certainly fair that Rocco Baldelli used his challenge there.
Yeah. But when it's all said and done, we're going to the top of the second, tie ball game at 0 with Greinke high stress first inning.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It'll be interesting to see how maybe the Twins can get to him later in the game. I don't have a ton of confidence that Greinke makes it through 5 or 6 innings.
I think 5 will probably be about what he gets to at this point. You know, if
Mhm.
he can come back out and start rolling now, he's got the bottom of the Twins order. It's possible that he gets a 1-2-3 second and feels a little more momentum moving deeper into this game.
That's
Um,
fair
but yeah, you don't know.
because Sano was hitting sixth, seventh in their lineup,
Yes, sixth, I want to say.
sixth, I believe. Yeah, so he's got 7, 8, 9 after this. But their nine hitter in Marwin Gonzalez was a former Astro, I think.
Yes, Marwin Gonzalez, former Astro, and he has not been. You know, he was before last season. He was one of the. You know, people thought he'd be one of the more sought after prospects, and he hasn't been all that for the
All that
Twins.
has been fantastic.
Not really at all. And you know, with the Astros, he was kind of a super utility bench guy and a good one at that. With the Twins, I think they were hoping to bring him into more of a starting role, and he did not exactly flourish.
No, he was a very good super utility though, and I think if the Twins this offseason can go find what is he playing first?
I believe they have Sano playing first
Left?
base.
You're right. You're right. Sano is
I
first.
think
Is
I
he
think they
in
put
left?
Marwin in the outfield, yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere. Because is
Today he's playing
Kepler's a
third.
right fielder?
Kepler is in right. Rosario's in left. But today, Marwin Gonzalez is playing third base for the Twins.
Okay.
I'm not sure what his primary position is. I can do a little bit of research on that really quick.
If you can say he has a primary position, yeah.
Yeah. So his 2020 breakdown by game, he appeared in 14 games at first, 21 at second, 23 at third, and 8 in right field.
Yeah, so all over the place.
Hmm.
That's about as good of a spread as you'll get
Yeah.
from a major league player. Um,
Doesn't quite have a position still, but the move to Target Field for a Minute Maid Park hasn't been kind to him.
yeah, it's it's interesting, and to go off on a little bit of a tangent, and this is something that the Cubs broadcasters, I've heard them discuss before, but um, is, you know, Marwin Gonzalez is one of those guys. Him, Ben Zobrist, you think of them as super utility guys. You know, you've got utility players that can play a few positions,
Mm-hmm.
and they were they were kind of asking, you know, when you're defining super utility, do you define that as a guy who can play a lot of positions, like you're talking of every outfield position and a few infield positions, or a utility man, a regular utility man who's maybe plays, you know, second base, right field, left field, three positions, which is still more than your typical player, and he's just really, really good at those positions.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting discussion. It depends on who you talk to and how they're going to define it.
I think the definition we use more frequently is, you know, you're approaching super utility as you can cover more positions compared with
Right.
just being a good utility man.
Yeah. I'd say that's for sure. Like, because you can consider utility, yeah, like you said, maybe you play first and third in like left field.
Hmm.
Like, that's a utility guy. Super utility guy who plays all four infield positions into corner outfields. Like, that's getting, you're covering a lot of different spots at that point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and nowadays you see a lot of the reserve infielders are guys who can play all four of the infield positions.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Which is, you know, kind of hard to imagine. I mean, that's a lot of versatility that you have in positions. You see guys that can cover shortstop and third base, but to be a guy who can legitimately cover first base and also a guy who is at least a decent shortstop, like those are pretty unique positions from one another.
Yeah, and what I've found that at least that I can recall now, a lot of those guys who can end up covering all four infield positions are typically brought up as
Yeah.
shortstops or drafted as shortstops because you know you got some pretty good defense already, a pretty plus arm there, and if it's strong enough, you can put him at third. If not, you can definitely get him on that short second, first positions most of the time.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, you take a big league first baseman and you think of guys that are big league first basemen, you know, your Anthony Rizzo, Eric Hosmer types. Um, most of the time they're big guys and
Yep.
not particularly agile, which makes
Yeah.
shortstop pretty hard. I mean, and we're seeing some shortstops now that are bigger than shortstops have stereotypically been historically, and so when you take a guy that's that size that isn't a natural shortstop, he would look pretty bad out there.
Oh yeah. Imagine seeing Paul Goldschmidt play short.
I'd rather not.
And that's why he doesn't. Yeah, shortstop definitely tough infield position to play. First base, you really got to be good at picking the ball, and that's really, I think, the big difference between first and a position like short.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Shortstop. The only time they ever really make a play or a tag at a base is if they're maybe tagging out a runner on a stolen base attempt.
Right.
But other than that, the shortstop, that's not really their job too much. And
No.
yeah, and that's a big difference with first base.
Yeah. And Maeda's got the first two Astros down here in the second inning with I'm not actually sure who's coming up to the plate for the Astros now. I think they've got Correa coming up to the plate.
Are they back to the top of their order? Or no,
They are
Correa did
not.
not lead off. That's true.
No, Correa's hitting seventh.
Yeah, he has not been not a career offensive year for him either. Really.
No, not exactly. But like as you kind of mentioned, how shortstops are getting bigger. Like I think this is a prime example of
Yep.
one. Carlos Correa is 6'4", 220. He's not a small guy.
Nope, not by any means.
But
I mean, that's
no.
a frame that you typically, if he's an infielder, that's a frame you typically think of as a third baseman.
Yeah, third baseman, first baseman too.
Yeah.
Like he's tall. First basemen are typically like taller, a little bit more bulky too. Um, but that's what has made Correa, I think, so impressive through his career so far, because he's been a little bit bigger. He's been able to produce a little bit more on offense than a traditional shortstop would.
Yeah, more power you can get um, with a little bit bigger frame for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and he's a guy that fits in pretty interesting. In our Discord chat we were talking about this the other day of the class of guys that'll be shortstops, all of them that'll be free agents after 2021, after next season.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Carlos Correa, Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, and Trevor Story.
That's a fantastic shortstop
Which
crop right
is,
there.
for a group, assuming none of them get extended,
Mm-hmm.
which at this point honestly doesn't seem very likely that any of them get an extension.
Yeah.
But assuming none of them get extended, that's probably the best group of 4 free agents at any position at any one given time in baseball history.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like those are four players that you could easily argue you can build a franchise around.
Oh yeah. And it's easy to forget about Story, especially. Baez won a
Absolutely.
World Series with the Cubs. Lindor made the World Series with the Indians. Correa won a World Series with the Astros. So they're all guys that have been on legitimate contenders like that. And Story, the Rockies had a wild card spot in 2018. I believe lost in the division series that year. And other than that, haven't seen the playoffs in Story's career. And so it's easy to forget that Story might be the best player on that Rockies team.
I would certainly say so. It's definitely between him and Arenado. But after I've watched a lot of Rockies baseball as a Giants fan. Whenever they come to town, whenever the Giants play in Colorado, it's always an interesting series. And Trevor Story is the guy you're afraid of in that lineup because he makes solid contact. He can hit for power. He plays fantastic defense. Like he's a very very underrated player in today's game.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'd say too. Is especially his defense is easy to forget about. And really all of those guys. I mean, Correa is probably the worst defensive shortstop of the four.
Mhm.
And that is not at all an insult to how Correa plays. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but at, Story's probably also got the most offensive, the highest offensive floor, I'd say.
I'd agree.
And especially as we've come closer to 2021, which is the walk year for all these guys, their offense has seriously been called into question of how consistently they can actually
Mhm.
produce. I mean, in 2018, Francisco Lindor had a weighted runs created plus of 130, and outside of that in his career, it has not been terribly high. So he's a guy that can. He's a switch hitter, excellent defense, and 130 WRC plus is fantastic offense at the shortstop position. But
Mhm.
it's hard to see that as what he'll actually give you in a given year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean that might have been, and that was an absolutely fantastic season from Lindor, but that's probably his career year at this point. If you're forecasting for the rest of his career, I don't know that you can see him surpassing that season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough because that was such a quality season for him. But I mean, I don't know if he'll ever quite match it, but I think he definitely still has the potential to get fairly close
Yeah.
and still produce well above average compared to other shortstops in the league.
Oh yeah. But and then so you're talking about the shortstop class, right? And Lindor is
Mhm.
coming off the worst offensive season of his career, which, to be fair,
Yes.
league average offense. Still, you'll
Mhm.
absolutely take it from a shortstop with his kind of defense. But Lindor is coming off the worst offensive season of his career. Baez is coming off easily the worst offensive season of his career.
Yeah.
Correa is coming off a pretty poor offensive and overall season.
Hmm.
So we haven't really gotten a look at how shortstops are valued in the free agent market recently, and I think that'll be an interesting exemplar next season to see what kind
Yeah.
of contracts those guys get.
Absolutely. Yeah. The short. I can't even remember the last time a big name like shortstop was on the free agent market.
Nobody, absolutely nobody, has rivaled Alex Rodriguez in terms of being a big
Right.
name shortstop on the free agent market.
Absolutely. But yeah, a lot, and it's kind of funny about the shortstop position, especially, is that the the guy for the top two or three shortstops changes consistently every 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah,
Because I remember back in like the early 2010s and like even the mid, it was at least what I remember, which might be a little bit more biased as well. Was it was Brandon Crawford and Anderson Simmons were like the two best shortstops for a little bit. Because I think he was like 2014, 2013, maybe something around there. Like they were producing offensively, they played the best defense in the league, and like they were viewed as two of the best, if not the two best shortstops. But that's also before you got these guys like Lindor, Baez, Story, Correa. So we get these younger guys coming up and just absolutely outshowing the previous like class of the position.
yeah, and it's also interesting because it's like you think about teams that have been very good in recent years. On how many of
Mhm.
those teams was the shortstop the best player? I don't know if we have a shortstop in baseball right now that's the best player on his team, other than we just said Trevor Story might be.
Yeah. Um, I can't think of anyone anywhere else across the league. What does Whit Merrifield play? Second?
Second base and outfield.
Okay.
And
Um,
talking about Kansas City, Mondesi has the potential to be the best position player on the Royals, but he's far from a guarantee.
oh yeah, absolutely. Because the Royals, it's probably Merrifield, Mondesi are probably two of their better players.
Yeah. Um, why can't I think? Salvador Perez had a better year than you might expect this year if you haven't looked at his
He did. He
stats.
had a good season.
But I wouldn't call him one of the Royals' best position players going into next year.
Not anymore.
No.
Maybe back in 2015, but not anymore.
And the Royals teams that made the World Series, Alcides Escobar is absolutely not your best player.
Yep, absolutely not.
um, yeah, I mean 27 Astros or 17 Astros. Correa is up there. Maybe he wasn't,
Yeah,
Bregman level, or Altuve was probably their best player that year.
I think we've grossly overshadowed one shortstop in the league who's definitely, I'd say, the best player on his team.
Oh, sure, hit me.
Tatis.
You think so?
Tatis is, I'd say Tatis is the best player on that Padres team.
I think he certainly will be in 2 years.
I think he already is.
That's a fair argument.
It might be. Yeah, I mean, you still have like Machado is really good.
Yeah.
You still have like Myers had a good year, I think, but I think Tatis is definitely. Yeah, I'm not sure about now, but he definitely will be in a year or two.
Yeah.
And he was incredible this year.
He was, yeah.
Like absolutely.
He's still kind of inconsistent though.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
And it also. Oh, you know who we've left out of this discussion is Corey Seager is a free agent after next year.
He is as well. Yeah,
And
Corey
it's
Seager also often hurt.
it's unfair to expect him to be the best position player on his team when he's playing with 2 MVPs.
Yeah, he's also playing with a team that has a payroll.
Yeah.
You're constantly getting guys being brought in who are the best players from other teams who might not even be the best player on that team they're being brought onto because the Dodgers have such a potent lineup.
Yeah.
As much as I hate to say it,
Yeah, I mean
they're a quality team.
you take what they had last year and then a lot of the years before, and you add the second best player in baseball.
Yep. Then you sign him to a massive contract extension.
And Alex Verdugo is nothing to scoff at, but when you
He's
add
not going to
Mookie
be
Betts,
looking
that's a over a course of a full season, that's at least a 4-win upgrade, probably.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And
And
Verdugo, I believe, had a pretty good year with the Red Sox.
yeah, I think he did. And Xander Bogaerts is another one where you could say that he's maybe the one of the better position players on the Red Sox too.
I would agree, but that's also, at least for now, not saying a whole lot.
Yeah.
But Xander Bogaerts is definitely a quality bat, quality player. I can't really think of much else on that team that played super well this last season.
Yeah.
Besides,
Verdugo, Rafael Devers.
Yeah, Devers is the only other one I can really think of who had a pretty good year. Maybe JBJ. I don't know what he did this season.
Yeah, I don't know that his bat has really been there recently. Obviously they had JD Martinez too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He wasn't having a career year for sure.
I feel like JD Martinez hasn't done a whole lot since getting to Boston.
Oh, he was certainly very good in 2018. Their World Series year, he was very good.
That's right. I forgot about that. But this year wasn't super solid. I don't know how it was last year.
Yeah, so he was traded from the Tigers to the Diamondbacks in 2017, and then he signed with the Red Sox before 2018.
Yes.
2018, he had a weighted runs created plus of 170.
That is good. It was pretty good.
Last year he was still 140, so he wasn't quite the same force that he had been. But this year, weighted runs created plus of 77.
Yeah, that's certainly not 170.
Yeah, and considering that he is, if you want to talk about a defensive liability, he's one.
Yep.
He cost the Red Sox a full win this year,
which is rough.
Which is saying something.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a title out of it, but at this point, it's does he even have trade value for them anymore? He's on a pretty big contract.
I think I don't know what their farm system looks like. But I don't envision a team taking on that contract where it's worth it for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I think they just have to eat that contract for the next couple of years. I think he's got, what, 2 years left on that deal? 3?
I think it was a 5-year deal.
That's what I
I want to
thought.
say, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember quite what it was, but I want to say it was 5 years back in 2018. So, yeah, as we discussed here, Greinke with a quick inning.
Yeah, he makes it out of the second pretty clean. So I think Maeda was at 40 or 41 pitches after the second, and now Greinke is at 41.
Yep.
So like I was saying, he had a clean second, which he could get rolling now. But both starters at least 40 pitches after the second inning. They've been laboring a little bit so far,
Yeah.
and we're about an hour into this game now, and we're through 2 innings. So
Yep. So, but I mean, that's what you get when these at bats haven't been bad. They've been battling because these
yeah,
lineups
no,
are
absolutely.
pretty quality lineups. You got quality players 1 through 9 for the most part. So that's why you're getting such long at bats. I'm not sure how many more quick innings we're going to get this game.
Yeah, that's fair, and we'll have to see. And I don't know very many of the guys that the Astros or the Twins have running out of their bullpen.
I don't know a whole lot of them either. Can do some quick research about it
Yeah, I know
and see what we get.
I know the Twins at least had Taylor Rogers, who was a pretty solid lefty relief option.
Yeah, they do still have Rogers. They have Sergio Romo. I know
Okay,
that.
yeah, and he actually his most recent outing I was watching, that was their most recent game against the Reds, and that was not.
Is that when he was chirping at someone that game?
Could be. I don't really remember. But yeah, he was their pitcher for the top of the 10th inning, and
Uh-huh.
didn't have a great outing. The Reds plated the um, the extra inning base runner, as well as several runners after that, um, to take a pretty big lead
Yes.
and win that game.
Yes, I do remember that. I remember. Yeah, I do remember watching that game as well. At least the end of it. But they're also throwing out the Twins. Tyler Clippard.
Oh, really? He's still around.
Yeah, he's still around. Ageless wonder. Had a pretty decent year too. 2.77 ERA in 26 innings.
Oh yeah.
.88 WHIP.
Yeah, and that's quite a body. I mean that's got to be one of the higher innings pitch totals for a reliever.
Probably, yeah. He pitched 26 games, 26 innings, so an inning per game. But he did end the season a little rough though. In his last 7 games, 6 2/3, giving up 4 earned runs.
Yeah, that's
Not ideal,
no, certainly not.
but he is definitely another veteran presence in a lineup, or not lineup, a bullpen that might need it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So we'll see what ends up coming of when we get to that point, the bullpens. You also have some starters I think the Twins could potentially use in relief.
Yeah,
Because,
I don't know what the
I
backup
don't know.
rotation's looking like.
Yeah. In this 3-game set, I'm not quite sure who they're running out either as their starters. I'd imagine Dobnak starts tomorrow.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Uh, he's been really good this year. Another rookie. Um, I'd say Barrios probably gets a start in this series. I would guess. I could also be wrong there. But they do have some other arms that they could run out there and see what comes of it if they need some innings.
Yeah, and Barrios definitely has the stuff to contend.
Absolutely.
I mean, I watched him only one time this year. Twins played the Cubs and Barrios started, and he was on that night and he looked really good.
I like Barrios a lot. I like the way he pitches. I think he's a quality player who's had, I think, some up and down seasons so far in his major league career.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been quite consistent.
Yeah,
but I feel
I
like
think you're
he's
right. I
probably
think
have a
he's
decent year.
been a little up and down, and I can check that out really quickly.
Yeah, I was gonna go find it as well.
But yeah, and he's younger than you'd expect. He's only 26.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Barrios, 26, 63 innings, 4 ERA, 4.00 on the dot.
he's actually it's kind of remarkable. He's got to be one of the only guys that has had um like pretty consistent home run rates year over year. That seems like
Yeah.
something that's super volatile for most for many pitchers. And
Hmm.
and Barrios has had them stay fairly similar, which I think he's around 12-13% home run rate, which is home run per fly ball rate, um, which is
Yeah.
about what you'd expect, I think.
Hmm.
Um, so the Astros are now back to the top of their order.
Yeah.
So Maeda with 3 strikeouts first time through the order, but took him 47 pitches.
Yeah. If
Um,
he can get uh, through 5, 6 innings at this rate, well, I don't know about. He'll probably get through about 5 with two times to the lineup. I'd say you got to be pretty happy with that.
yeah, no, I take that as a Twins. I take that for
Yeah,
sure.
especially if he doesn't give up anything
Yeah, if there's not runs on the board when Maeda comes out of the game,
to get
and
out of.
and runners on base, if
Correct.
there's
Yeah.
not runners on base or runs on board, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And there's
Uh,
if he gets out of the third with under 60 pitches, he's probably still got enough to go another 3 innings.
yeah, I'd say so. Especially, he did cruise through the bottom part of the order pretty well. I'd say.
Yeah,
No real threats on the bases or anything. Nothing that really looked close to a hit. He's generated a lot of weak contact so far this game, so hopefully he continues that. The Astros, I mean, that first time through the lineup didn't look fantastic,
yeah. No, and
which is ideal if you're mid.
weak contact has definitely been his specialty. Um, with what
Hmm.
he's got working with. At one point, I looked and he had, and I can check again. He had the lowest batting average on balls in play against him of any starting pitcher in baseball. And for a lot of those pitchers, that looks a little fluky. Like they probably got a little bit of good luck. Hitters um, hit balls in places where defenders just happen to be. But for Maeda,
Hmm.
he legitimately um, limits hard contact better than most starters. So
Yeah,
among qualified starters, he did finish the year with the lowest batting average on balls in play of all starters in baseball. Um, and right above him in BABIP is Trevor Bauer, Alec Mills, Dinelson Lamet, and all of those guys allow contact on average at least a mile per hour and a half harder than Maeda does.
yeah, that's that's impressive for Maeda.
And it's
Like being able to generate such weak contact so consistently and better than a lot of these guys who have been really, really good this year.
I mean, you could argue that Maeda almost could have been underperforming a little bit. I mean, he had
Yeah,
an 18.8% home run per fly ball rate, which is pretty high. Um, and that led to high home run rates, but his strikeout to walk numbers are very good too.
yeah. What are those numbers for him this year?
So he strikes out 10.8 batters per 9 innings and 1.35 walks per 9 innings.
That's pretty
Which,
impressive.
yeah, especially the walk control, um, is better than
Hmm.
most pitchers you'll see. I mean,
Oh yeah,
let's see. In among qualified starters in walk rate per 9 innings, he's fourth lowest, and we're actually seeing um, Greinke is third lowest in walks per 9 innings. So we're seeing two of the best pitchers at controlling the walk currently.
yeah. Do you think Maeda's? I mean, Greinke's just been. This is kind of been who he is, though. He's been consistent with stuff like that. He's been a good pitcher in the game for several years.
Hmm.
Um, and do you think? I think a lot of Maeda's success has got to do with him coming over from Japan a few years back. He was very good when he pitched in Japan. And came over to the major league here in the U.S. I want to say 4 years ago,
2016
something
was
along
his
those
first year
lines.
with the Dodgers.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, and he's been pretty quality for his entire tenure in Major League Baseball for the Dodgers and the Twins.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if anything, it looks like the changes. It looks like he has made some changes this year, and they'll stick coming next
Mhm.
year. He's
Yeah,
he's 32 now, so he wasn't. He was certainly not a super young pitcher coming over from Japan. But
right.
I mean, you look at his averages with the Dodgers. Um, this strikeout rate that he has is as high as it's been in his career, and higher than his career average. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Um, he here. Let me look at strikeout and walk percentage. So, um, yeah, he actually has the highest strikeout percentage of his career and the lowest walk percentage of his career, um, which yields strikeout to walk numbers that look a lot better than any of his seasons with the Dodgers. And um, in addition to that, he is putting the ground ball on the ground more. He's inducing more ground balls. His 49% ground ball rate is a full 9% roughly higher than his career average coming into this year.
Mhm.
Um, and like I was saying, his home run per fly ball rate is a little bit high. And so, if you get that to come down, Maeda could potentially be this good or better next year, assuming he pitches the same.
Yeah, and I would think he probably saw, and the Twins as a whole for him probably saw this season as like, hey, try these things out and see how they go. And if they don't work, just kind of readjust back for the 2021 season, assuming under the assumption that next season is going to be kind of more normal than this season,
Yeah.
which I think is a pretty fair assumption to make. I don't know if you can say completely normal, but more normal. Uh, so I mean, those changes that he ended up making work out. So I got to imagine that he would stick with them and just continue to improve upon them.
Yeah. No, and you may have heard, and a lot of people have been saying that the short season and the short ramp up to the season has benefited pitchers quite a bit. So that may also be
Yeah,
something to watch next year. But all
yeah,
indications are that Maeda could be at least this good again. And two he was worth 2.1 wins above replacement according to Fangraphs, which is almost as good as any of his career best years over a full season. So if the Dodgers can get a full season of Maeda being healthy, um, he could really exceed the best years of his career. Um, and this, I mean, like I was saying, this trade, even when they gave up a lot of years of control for Gratterall, if Maeda contributes
yeah.
to a deep postseason run this year and anchors the rotation
Mhm.
next year, I think it still looks like a really good move for them when they didn't know that they could get that kind of starting pitcher out of Gratterall. I mean, the Dodgers have been using him in relief.
Yeah, I think if they can get if the Twins even make it to the championship series in the AL this year, I think that alone already would say this deal was worth it. Also, kind of under the assumption that he will be anchoring this team next year, which I'd also say is probably a fair statement to make. They do have some good arms though in that rotation still.
Yeah,
Like I think Dobnak this year has been really
yeah,
really
has
good.
shown himself as a legitimate guy in that rotation. And I actually don't know. I don't know if there's very many guys that the Twins have whose contracts expire after this year.
I'm not sure.
I'm taking a
I
look
wouldn't
right
know.
now.
Yeah.
And so
Um,
it is 3:18 p.m. in Eastern Time. So the White Sox and A's have started playing, and in the top of the first inning, the White Sox got 2 runners on, first and third, and they had 2 outs, and I believe Jesus Luzardo was able to get out of the inning unscathed. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it
Middle
looks
of the
like.
first inning, and it's a 0-0 game. So Luzardo, put on a couple base runners, but he's out of it clean now, and we'll see what the A's can do in the bottom of the inning off of Lucas Giolito, who, if there's any pitcher also that we haven't been talking about that could just go out and have a great outing, it's certainly Giolito.
Oh yeah, certainly. He had a great year this year through the no-hitter against the Pirates. A lot of people love to hate on him for that game. It's like, oh, it's the Pirates. I'm like, it doesn't count. I hate that argument so
Nobody
much.
else no-hit the Pirates.
Exactly. Like, if it doesn't count, then why didn't they get no hit 60 times this season?
No, great performance
So
by him for sure.
absolutely, and it wasn't even like one of those no hitters where you're kind of squeaking it out. It was a dominant performance. Like it was 13 strikeouts, I think, right? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And Giolito certainly has that potential to go out and just rack up strikeouts in an outing,
Mm-hmm.
which
Absolutely.
really it's great to see for him and for the White Sox.
Yeah, the White Sox fans have waited a long time for this, and they're finally getting it, which is it's kind of nice to see. After waiting for so long and struggling for so long, to finally get to see the fruits of their labor of that those prospects, all those trades, and all those years of mediocrity at best. Yeah, back in this game though, we are back to the bottom of the third inning. Um, Byron Buxton just struck out, and Greinke now has 2 outs after 51 pitches here in the third.
Yeah, so Greinke's rolling a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Found his groove after that first inning, like you said he would.
Yeah, high 90 miles per hour. Is that his heater?
Looked like a 2-seam.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I thought Greinke at least had a little bit more than 90 left in him.
I think he sits around 95. I could be wrong.
That would make sense. I'd believe that. 94, 95.
Yeah, after he left the Dodgers, I haven't watched him as much. So, except for in like postseason play, where watching all those games, seeing what he does. But yeah, he definitely has looked a lot better.
And the Astros also have behind the plate. They've got Martin Maldonado, who they've shown a couple times remains one of the better pitch framers in baseball.
Oh
just
yeah.
grabbed a strike there for Greinke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Maldonado's been pretty good defensively for all of his pitchers, and I think pitch framing is such an undervalued tool for a catcher to just a normal
absolutely.
fan, not a normal fan, but a casual fan.
Yeah, and as a Royals fan last year, they brought in Maldonado when Salvador Perez went down for Tommy John surgery. And that was a move that I really liked because I wanted very badly for his pitch framing to rub off on the Royals a little bit.
Yeah.
Framing was something that the Royals didn't necessarily value a ton, and Perez was pretty much a bad framer, honestly. But
has he improved?
I don't know. I was gonna check that out here in just a second. I was looking at Maldonado's stats first. Maldonado actually is rated as a fairly poor pitch framer this year, which at age 34, not too surprising that he's seeing a little bit of decline. And he was never an offensive force to be reckoned with. I mean, hitting ninth today.
Yeah, I'd still classify him as one of the better pitch framers in the league. I really appreciate good pitch framing. I grew up watching Buster Posey behind the dish. So Buster Posey his really good pitch framing. Steals a lot of strikes, and it was definitely missed behind the plate this year for the Giants.
Yeah, no, because Salvi actually rated as a better, according to Baseball Savant, rated as a better pitch framer this year than Maldonado. Um,
Interesting.
and yeah, he's been my favorite baseball player for a long time. So that was just
Maldonado.
Perez.
Okay.
So that was just really fun to see him have a good year. I mean, as good as any season he's had in his career, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to have a good year. I didn't even know he was having a fantastic year until a couple days ago, or towards the end of the season, and the Royals were mentioned. I'm like Salvador Perez. I'm like, what about him? I didn't expect him to be anything. Then looked him up a little bit and how his season went, and it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, easily the best offensive season he's had. And he's always put up pretty solid home run numbers, but he um oh interesting. He actually he increased his hard contact in 2018. Um and his hard contact was also up from his career averages this year. But some indications that obviously wasn't sustainable, and his walk
Yeah,
rate this year was under 2%, which um, nothing to write home about for sure.
yeah.
Um,
And in
but
this game, um, we're looking at the
close play to a
Twins
run.
scoring a run,
We have our
a
first
close play at the plate.
we have our first run of the 2020 postseason with a
Who else would it
who
be
else
but
would be
Nelson
Cruz? Yep.
Cruz? But yeah, in this inning, Greinke got the first two outs. Max Kepler drew a walk, full count, good take, and then Cruz drives one to deep right that goes over Reddick's head. And the play at the plate was pretty close, um, but just a half second behind Kepler's slide. A good slide too.
Indeed, it was.
Went wide. Yeah.
Just got his hand over the
Kepler's
plate.
also a good base runner. Hmm.
Yeah, so there it
So
is, double by Nelson Cruz, and the Twins are up 1-0 in the third. And that was a well struck ball.
exit
Yeah,
velocity. Exit
106.
velocity 105.9. So yeah, but now you got another or actually a runner in scoring position as Kepler was on first on that last play. Came around to score, but runner in scoring position for the Twins. Greinke now at 60 pitches, and you got Rosario at the plate.
Is that Josh Reddick out in right field for the Astros?
That indeed is Josh Reddick in right field for the
Because I think
Astros.
he's been, I don't know that necessarily many right fielders would have had a chance on that last play, but I think he's been one of the worst defensive right fielders, if I'm recalling correctly.
I think you're right. I also am not 100% sure either. But he did. I think he played that ball fairly well. He made it a really close play at the plate.
Yeah.
I think a better right fielder might have, you know, gotten the play to go in their favor.
Yeah, and
But
I don't know that there's necessarily a ton of right fielders that had the range to get to that ball. I mean, that was well struck enough that it was probably going to get in. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you've got like Jason Hayward out there as a great arm. There's probably some guys that could have made that throw, but still definitely a good base running decision by Kepler.
I would definitely say so. Kepler is a good base runner. He's quick.
Yeah.
Um,
Expected batting.
Kepler, I believe, has 2 walks in this game.
Yeah, I think so. Um, and expected batting average on that hit was 700. So it's not like
Okay.
you can really um, fault Josh Reddick for not getting to that ball there.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But that did happen with 2 outs, and the Astros limited the damage to 1 run. So the Twins feel good getting a run on the board, but certainly Astros have their opportunities to get things rolling without being down by too much.
Right. But Greinke gets through that, like you said, limiting. But he's sitting at a little over 60 pitches now, through 3.
Yeah, and even with a second and third innings that were not too many pitches, that 30-pitch first inning for Greinke is still got him. Um, he's been working, and that first inning was
Yeah.
certainly a part of it. And Nelson Cruz and the Twins lineup as a whole, that top of the lineup, has been probably more responsible for that than anyone else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Nelson Cruz, has seen on his own at least 10, 11 pitches because his first at bat was 8. And that one, I believe, before he drove the ball to the right field wall, was, I think, nearing 5, maybe 6 pitches. I definitely lied. It was 2. Kepler had 6 pitches on the walk. But yeah, and even the first batter, Luis Arias, had a six pitch out, which is seeing 6 pitches per plate appearance. Definitely going to start, getting that pitch count up.
Yeah, no doubt. So neither lineup has made it too easy on the opposing pitcher so far, but Maeda has certainly still looked good.
Oh yeah, Maeda has 56 pitches through 3, so he's coming back out here for the 4th in a minute. We'll see how fast he can get through this inning. He might be. I wouldn't be surprised to see him over 70 after this inning.
Yeah, it's not like 14 pitches in an inning is a gaudy pitch total.
No, that's around what you want to kind of be shooting for.
Yeah.
Like I'd say like 14 or under.
Yeah.
But in a playoff series, outs are outs.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yes. So we are about to come into the top of the 4th here. Twins are up 1-0, which, given that 3 innings have taken us a full hour and 20 minutes, you might expect to see more runs on the board.
Yeah, but these pitchers have got themselves out of jams. Gotta hand it to them. And Brantley up to hit here. So as we get underway here, for anyone also keeping track of that White Sox A series, the White Sox now do have a run on the board. Adam Engel home run. Not exactly who you're expecting to get the first run across in that series.
Yeah, no, that ball.
Yeah.
Got up and out.
Yep, ball middle in, pitch wise. Just kind of turned on it and drove it out.
That, even just a solo home run, you never want to give that White Sox lineup anything. If they start getting rolling, and they had a couple hits in the first inning too, the A's have got to stay on their game.
And if Giolito pitches well, 1 run might be enough already.
The White Sox have a lot of good-looking bullpen options too.
That's
Alex
also very
Colomé
true.
Been
the White Sox
this year. And even they've got a couple of young guys. I think Cody Hoyer and Garrett Crochet, who you never necessarily want to lean on your rookies in the postseason, but man, does Crochet especially look good.
He has looked phenomenal for that White Sox team. I will I'll tune into a White Sox game just to watch him pitch. Like I won't be watching that game. I'll hear someone, usually one of our other Reddies here in wow, I can't remember Laz's first name. Jordan Lazowski. Very much big White Sox fan. I'll see him tweet about Crochet coming to the game, so I'll turn it on and just watch him pump gas. He's a very fun pitcher to watch. In his 5 games this season, he was called up pretty late, but in his 5 games, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, like averaging probably somewhere around 100 miles per hour on his pitches.
All he needs to throw is that heater.
Like I can tell you that.
With only that heater, most likely.
Yeah, it's where he's going to make his money.
Yep, for sure. But
Like, and I wouldn't even be surprised to see him next year just starting with the White
yeah,
Sox
and
again.
I don't know if he is on their postseason roster right now. Okay.
He is.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he weren't, honestly.
Yeah, so would I.
But yeah, it's
Yeah, definitely a good
looking like a
option out of that
great
pen.
draft pick for them this year. I mean, he was the 11th
Hmm.
overall pick this year for the White Sox, and he's already debuted sooner than any pick from the 2019 draft.
Right. Highly criticized pick too for the White Sox.
I honestly,
Like,
I don't know that I was paying enough attention at that point in the draft.
yeah. If you go back and look at his college numbers, they weren't stellar. So a lot of people were like, "Why are you wasting the pick on this guy who's got like a 5 ERA in college?" I don't think it was quite that. Pretty sure that was a gross exaggeration, but it's the gist of it. Because a lot of casual fans they see ERA and they're like, "That's bad." But then he's come out and I mean, right now his ERA sits at
Yep,
0.00. So I mean, he's been good.
no doubt. And with a guy like that, the White Sox most likely saw that they maybe only needed a couple adjustments to make him a guy that was ready to throw in a big league bullpen. I mean, when you're in college pumping gas like that, you can't be that far off stuff wise.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit of major league adjustment, like you just said. Um, so if your pitching coach believes you can adjust that one or two things enough, and then you can make him into a good enough reliever, starter, or whatever, however you want to use them, then they're going to take that chance. And so far, at least, it's looked like it's paying off. Yeah. Here in this game, though, they do have the Astros have a runner on. Maeda has issued, I think, his first walk of the game. Um, I could be wrong on that one,
Probably.
but Alex Bregman
I can check that out.
stands on first.
Second walk of the game for Maeda.
Second walk, yeah. But yeah, Bregman on
And we've
first
got, yeah,
with Tucker at
rookie
the plate
Kyle
here.
Tucker, who I think he was a very highly regarded prospect before he hit the major leagues, and I think he has been, um, not as notable as we might have expected for a guy that was that well regarded.
Yeah, I mean he had a good year. He had 42 RBIs, 268 average, 9 home runs, playing right field for the Astros, and 837 OPS, which is probably better numbers than most of most of this other team here, or
Yeah,
the rest of the team, with how much they've
no, and they
struggled.
absolutely needed it in the absence of, especially in the absence of Jordan Alvarez.
Oh yeah, Yordan Alvarez. I don't. Did he play at all this year?
He might have gotten into like one game before he was ruled out for the year.
Yeah, like, I don't remember him making any appearances. But yeah, that's definitely a bat that the Astros are
Yeah,
missing.
he 2 games,
Um,
9 plate appearances, hit a homer,
okay.
didn't walk at all. Oh, he hit a. Oh no.
Anyway, but Tucker does signal to right here. So now we got first and second with only one out.
Slid it right through there, through the shift too.
Polanco unable to make the play. So we'll see. I believe Correa is up next. I could be wrong. Um, I am wrong. It is Yuli Gurriel up at the plate now. So we'll see if Maeda can get out of this one. Sitting at 68 pitches so far here in the fourth. So yeah, as they're kind of talking about here a little bit, Gurriel's extension, which we mentioned earlier, was only for 1 year. He gets $7 million out of that deal, which is kind of a nice paycheck
Yeah,
for
that's
him.
kind of a
Yeah, I'd agree. Because I mean, not that he's been horrible by any means, but I feel like $7 million for first baseman who just finished the season at 232 average. Um, it's kind of a hefty
Yeah,
paycheck.
and he was actually better in 2019 than I realized, but he's only been in 5 major league seasons, and he's 36 years old.
Yeah, he is not young. I didn't realize he was that old
They're
either.
showing up on the broadcast right now. He had the sixth worst batting average in the majors in September, and one of the other guys in this is that had a worse batting average is in this game. That's Miguel Sano, who he talked about a little bit earlier. Um, and then
Hmm.
also three of the other four guys were from Chicago teams.
Yeah, Chicago. Both Chicago teams kind of scuffled in September. At least the last couple weeks of the season, both of those teams struggled pretty
Yeah,
heavily.
I mean, you may have heard by now the White Sox ultimately ended up needing 2 wins in their last week to clinch a division title, and they won one game. Which
Yep,
hard to watch that, I'm sure. And they they suffered
hmm
a couple walk-offs to the Indians. Um, they allowed
they got
a
blown
lot of
out by the
runs to the Cubs
Cubs.
in a 3-game series. They allowed 25 runs over the course of those 3 games. Um, yeah, ultimately a pretty difficult final week to come into the postseason on, and nobody really knows for sure how your performance leading into the postseason necessarily affects your postseason. Like it's not like, oh, they lost a bunch of games heading into the postseason, so they are dead and will not win. But can't feel good about it.
Yeah, your confidence as a player probably isn't exactly at an all-time high. I mean, if I had to pick either be on a hot streak heading into the playoffs or a cold streak, I wouldn't pick a cold streak. That's for sure.
Oh, so Gurriel made some
So
decent contact out to center, but Buxton caught it pretty easily, and so the Astros have first and second with 2 outs now.
now Correa's
Yeah,
up to the
and they'd
plate.
love to see a run on the board after this inning.
Oh yeah, and the Twins, I mean, would like to keep the score as is. Yeah, Maeda versus Correa here. 2 outs, top four, 2 on. See what he can do. Um, Correa did, I believe, walk in his first at bat. So we'll see what he can do here against Maeda. It appears Maeda and is it Jeffers is the
Jeffers,
catcher here?
something like that.
Jeffers, yeah, Jeffers are talking about it, and we'll see what they can
Ryan
figure out here.
Jeffers.
They appear to be looking at something.
Yeah, they got some kind of game
Yeah,
plan, game card,
yeah.
which is
So the ump
yeah,
comes to break
that's
it
an
up.
interesting thing to see. Um, and I've noticed watching the Cubs, um, which is who I'm watching most frequently. They have most of them have like little cards, almost like cheat sheets, in their pockets in the field. And so you'll see there was one time where they had a live mic with Ian Happ while he was out in center field, and between pitches he'd pull the card out of his back pocket, check what he's got um, for the next hitter, slide the card back into his pocket, and you're playing. And even the pitchers and catchers are looking at that type of thing between batters.
Yeah, and even in this game, they had a shot earlier where Max Kepler pulled a card out of his pocket and was looking at it after he
Yeah,
recorded out. Um,
which is an interesting. I would expect it almost keeps you in the game between batters. If
yeah,
it's like, okay, here's what's next. I got to think actively about how we are approaching this hitter in order to maximize our opportunity to get him out.
Yeah. And so I think it definitely helps quite a bit. It's not exactly something you see a ton of anymore, though. I feel like it was a lot more frequent several years back, or even like in older eras, like even the 80s, 90s sort of thing. But it's kind of made a bit of a resurgence here.
Yeah. Man, I could not tell you why, but your video keeps shrinking on the broadcast.
Well, I could not tell you why either.
It's okay. just keep fixing it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we said Maeda would like to get out of this inning with around 70 pitches, and now after a 4-pitch walk to Correa, he's got the bases loaded, 2 outs, and he's sitting at 76 pitches on the day. So, not looking ideal, Certainly not what Maeda wanted, but he's 20 pitches this inning too. They've got him working, and they're not pulling him here. You don't want to dip into their bullpen just yet, and especially with the bottom of the Astros order coming up, he's got a decent chance to get an out here. Here is Josh Reddick, who we were talking about earlier. But yeah, the Astros are certainly threatening.
Yeah, they bring out. He does have a translator in that Twins dugout. So the quick meeting that him and Jeffers had earlier is probably not the most beneficial without that translator. So you get the translator in there with the pitching coach, catcher, and Maeda. Get more probably a solidified game plan for this next hitter. So Reddick's now 0-1. He did walk Correa on 4 pitches. None of them particularly close.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he adjusts here. Reddick is in the 8th slot for the Astros.
And after him, they've got Maldonado, who, like we were saying earlier, is also doesn't necessarily pose a huge offensive threat. Maeda's worked Reddick to an 0-2 count here. And meanwhile, in that A's White Sox game we were talking about, Tim Anderson is putting his money where his mouth is. He's 2 for 2 off of Jesus Luzardo.
Tim Anderson, also a really fun player to just watch play baseball.
He's a good guy, for sure. He knows what he's talking about. He works really hard. I mean, if you said a few years ago that Tim Anderson would be the shortstop of the next contending White Sox team, that was certainly no guarantee. But he's put himself there, which is great to see. And he's great for the city of Chicago too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like he does get a lot of criticism from some fans for being a little bit too loud, a little bit too obnoxious, some would say, but he's never claimed not to be. He knows he does it. He owns up to it. So I mean, I don't understand the problem a lot of guys have with him.
Not at all.
Yeah, Tim Anderson, very fun to watch. Great for the game. Hopefully, will continue to be really good for years to come. He another one of those guys we were talking about earlier about shortstops. I think Anderson has potential to be the best player on that White Sox team at some point.
I think
they also have a lot of good players, though.
On Luis Robert to an extent.
Yeah, I agree. But it's definitely a possibility.
And Jose Abreu this year certainly was a force to be reckoned with too. Which I know
absolutely. Also in the discussion for MVP. I don't think anyone quite did. And Maeda gets out of the inning unscathed.
Strikes out Reddick, yeah.
Rightfully
big
so.
pitch there that he just made. And I think they were showing earlier I'm not quite
Keeps the
sure what pitch
game.
that was, but it's been working for him all day. It's probably his best looking pitch today.
Yeah. The MLB app tracker thing has
Yeah.
that pitch as a slider.
Um,
So likely is what it is. So, but like you said, it has been a good pitch for him.
yeah. So that's
And
huge for the
that game
Twins
now
to
moves to
to
bottom
keep a
four.
run off the board there. And in all likelihood, they will not um, pull Maeda right now. After he gets out of that jam, they'll give him the clean fifth, I would assume.
Yeah. They did have a Weisler warming up in the bullpen. So Maeda's leash might be a little shorter, but certainly I would not expect him
Mhm.
to come out of the game quite yet. He could probably
I
give
would
you
think so.
another inning, which, as we kind of mentioned earlier, 5 innings of no-run ball against this Astros team
He'll take it.
certainly good enough to be a
Yeah,
quality
no,
quality
and
start.
and given how much they've been worked a little bit so far, I think both teams will take a 0 or 1 run outing from the starters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this game, I mean, probably it's not to at least not a big surprise to me
Yep.
that it's kind of a pitching duel. These are two very good pitchers. I think you'll probably see most of this wild card series uh, for all of the teams be
Yeah,
pitching duels
and
for the most
that's,
part.
every team has set themselves up for the most part. There wasn't necessarily a team that was fighting so much to get into the postseason or had their pitching schedule work out to the point where they were throwing their best starters to make it. We thought maybe we'd see the Reds need to use up Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo in in order to just get a playoff spot. They didn't end up needing those guys, and so they'll get to
Mm-hmm.
throw Trevor Bauer on full rest tomorrow. Um, and I believe they'll have all their guys on
Castillo
full
after
rest.
that.
Um, yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
we're going to see probably some of the best pitching matchups of all year um, in these series, which is exciting
Yeah,
to watch too. Um, yeah, and I
absolutely.
think I think Bauer is an interesting case, perhaps, because I I can't say for sure that as a Reds fan, I would be 100% confident that Bauer is capable. I mean, I think he's capable, but I don't know for sure that Bauer is going to blank this Braves lineup.
Yeah, that's the Braves lineup is very potent. There's a lot of quality
Yeah,
hitters in
like
the
like
lineup,
I was saying
but
earlier, I mentioned a little bit. Maeda had the lowest batting average on balls in play against him. Trevor Bauer had the second lowest, and he didn't control hard contact quite like Maeda did. He had good strikeout
yeah,
numbers. Obviously, he had great results with a 1.73 um, ERA on the year. Like that's a no matter how you shake it, that's a good season. But Baseball
yep,
Prospectus also just released an article that Bauer had one of the easiest schedules of opponents faced of any pitcher in baseball, and he got hit pretty
mm-hmm.
hard. Um, yeah, I think he started against the Pirates twice, the Tigers twice, which already, if 1/3 of your starts are against the Pirates and Tigers, that's a pretty favorable pitching schedule. And
Yeah,
overall, the NL Central wasn't the NL or the AL Central. On any given day, there wasn't a guarantee that you were going to get shelled by any lineup. So
yeah,
the
that's
Braves
certainly
are
true.
probably going to be the best lineup that Bauer has seen.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get to struggle tomorrow. But I also wouldn't be overly
Yeah.
surprised to
Well,
see
and
him thrive.
if anyone adapts like him, I didn't word that correctly, but it's hard for a pitcher to adapt like Trevor Bauer adapts, and he's also um, one of the smartest pitchers. Like he just knows so much about what he's doing. um,
Uh-huh.
that you know you can expect him to go out and figure out what he's working with and make a good outing out of it. But that being said,
Absolutely.
I think there are kind of
So,
warning signs in his underlying performance.
yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, that's the earliest game tomorrow. That Reds Braves game will be at 12 Eastern time, 12:08. So we'll get to see pretty early on in the day how he's
Yeah.
going to fare against that lineup. And going back to the White Sox A series, as we were talking about potential MVP, Jose Abreu hits one out of the park against Luzardo, makes it a 3-0 game
That's huge.
for the White Sox.
And the White Sox, they've definitely
Mm-hmm.
backed themselves up now, and you know, they've showed that they aren't, they're still a threat for sure against Luzardo, and that's, as the A's, you can't feel good going into a 3-0 hole right away. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
after three.
especially in a 3-game series, like there, I think people have had legitimate concerns, and I'm one of them that it's probably going to be pretty tough to rally and win 2 games in a row if you drop game one.
Yep, I would agree.
Um,
But the
that's
A's
true.
are at
Yeah,
home, though.
and that could make a difference. They're certainly more comfortable there. Um, the White Sox were a lot
Mm-hmm.
farther from home than they have been, but the off day likely helped with that some. And with a 3-0 advantage and Giolito on the bump, I'm feeling pretty good as the White Sox right now.
Yeah, especially considering that. I mean, there is a home field advantage for the A's, but that really large foul area around the infield does benefit any team that plays there.
That's fair. Yeah.
So we'll see how that game continues to shake out. We'll give those updates as the important things do come up. But that game did start an hour after this one, and they are in the bottom three as we're in bottom four here.
This has not been an exemplar of pace of play here in Minnesota today.
Not even a
And I
little
don't
bit.
know. I don't know if Greinke and Maeda are notoriously slow workers. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that they are.
Yeah, but it's not the fastest, but hey, it's
Yeah.
baseball. It's good baseball. So I'm never going to complain about watching Greinke and Maeda pitch against each other.
Ooh.
Yeah, ball goes through the Twins' third base coach's legs.
I'm gonna I'm gonna
Gotta
take
give him a glove.
I'm gonna venture to guess that he is not their infield skills coach, in addition to the third base coach.
I would hope not after that quick display. But yeah, the Astros do also have a guy up in the pen. They showed a couple minutes ago. I don't know who it is. I already forgot.
You've probably
Um,
you've probably
but
never heard of him
both of
anyway.
these, probably not. But both of these teams do have relievers up and warming in the bullpens. So it kind of shows you that both of these pitchers are kind of approaching the end of their days a little bit. So I don't know how long the leash is for either of these players. But uh, 4 innings, 5 innings, probably the max we'll see out of either of these
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, I think Maeda has another in him, and Greinke is looking like he'll get out of this inning at or under 80 pitches. Um, yeah, I think they've got another
Yeah,
inning, and then we'll see bullpens for the last four. And we're talking about this
yeah,
game is running a little bit slowly. It'll be interesting to see whether the 3 batter minimum rule ends up feeling like it makes a difference on the pace of the game.
yeah. I feel, at least in all the games I've watched this year, I feel like that 3 batter minimum has actually played a fairly large role in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
outcome
it
of some of these
certainly
games.
impacts how you approach using your bullpen. Um, yeah,
And your pinch
if
hitters
it's
as
like you've
well.
got lefty righty lefty coming up, or righty lefty lefty, you're probably going to bring in
Hmm.
a lefty to get the advantage on two of the three guys that he will have to face. Um, Compared with like if it's a lefty righty righty maybe that are coming up in the order, you've got to think harder about what you
Hmm.
really want to throw, because in the past you throw your lefty one out guy out, and now you don't necessarily want him to face two right-handed hitters if he is not great at getting them out.
Right. So it does make a difference, a big difference, I'd say. The lefty one out guys are no more, at least for the season, which is quite honestly, I think it's a shame. I was a big fan of the loogies, as they were commonly referred to,
Oof.
from Coop and Kuiper on Giants
Hard
broadcasts.
contact there from, I don't know who that was. Um, Jeff. Okay, yeah, hard
Jeffers.
contact from Jeffers, but um, you hit it right at the defender pretty much. So that does it for the fourth inning. So
So
yeah,
not much comes of it.
we're almost 2 hours deep into this game, and we're through 4 innings. And Jeffers just worked that was a 9 pitch at bat off Greinke.
Yep. And Greinke sits at 79 pitches after that. So we'll see how this next inning goes. Maeda did look as he was coming back out, which is good. They'll see. We'll see how short his leash is. I can't imagine that the Twins would let him get into
Yeah,
another jam
I think
here.
if he gets 2 base runners, I think that's probably about um, his limit.
I think a runner in scoring position, even get a guy on second, I think they'd probably pull him in favor of that bullpen.
It's looking like the stream may not still be up for some reason. So I'm gonna switch our scenes and see what happens. Okay, so we are back up, but I don't know if we are showing up on HotMic itself.
Yikes. Have we had consistent viewers or any viewers?
A couple of guys in the chat,
All
J.
right.
Roy and Sean from HotMic. If you guys are around, hope you're having a good time. Yeah, so Maeda is back out for the fifth.
Mm-hmm. Facing Maldonado here, the ninth place hitter in this Astros lineup. 82 pitches so far.
I'm
Also, I really enjoy these cutouts to
I
target
saw what
field.
the Royals had earlier.
I did. I like the ones there because they have some from the movie Little Big League, if you know it. That is my favorite movie. They got good old Billy Haywood sitting behind home.
Okay,
Dude.
if the image still doesn't seem to be showing up, I'm gonna end the stream and restart it real quick. Oh, Christian's looking, I
Okay.
believe, to see it.
My head is looking good in the inning so far.
It's off to a 2-2 count.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Maldonado's out.
First out of the inning.
Strikeout. Yeah, fifth strikeout for Maeda on the day.
So certainly not matching his best starts of the year, but he's kept runs off the board, which is the bottom line, really.
The ultimate goal here. And I'm not quite sure how far they're willing to extend Maeda, but if you can get out of this inning relatively quickly, you might be able to actually see him come out for the sixth.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how far they'll push him, and it depends on. Do we know for sure when the division series starts?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure that information is out there. I can look it up real quick.
Because that, I mean, if they want to,
Yeah. So.
or if they don't want to burn him out before the division series, that might be something they consider. As he's got 88 pitches now and 2 outs, so it's looking like he might have a shot at getting out of this inning with more to go in the sixth.
Yeah. And so, after some quick research, it looks like the division series of the AL starts on the 5th of October. So that'd be on Monday.
You know, amount of rest in before,
5-6 days of rest. So yeah, they might be willing to extend him a little bit here. Maybe see him go around 100, a little over 100 even.
And I don't think in a 3-game series, we see in some postseason series that starters, even after starting game 1, will come in later in the series in relief. I don't know that they necessarily see him as a relief option later in this series.
Yeah.
I think that's
so.
Within 3 games, that's pushing it a little bit, and they have enough relievers where Maeda on such little rest is not necessarily an upgrade over anyone else.
Yeah. But it'd be interesting to see if they do decide to bring him into a potential game 3 on what would be 2 days rest. Not even 2 days rest. I don't think that's something they would be doing, but I mean, anything could happen. And Maeda gets out of the 5th here with, I believe, with 91 pitches. I
could see him coming back out.
So a very quick 5th. Oh yeah, I could too. A very quick 5th inning for him, in which he only threw. Let me see here. 10 pitches.
So
10 pitches.
That's what they needed right there.
So yeah, we'll see what the Twins decide to do here. I'd say either decision makes sense. Bringing him back out, taking him out of the game. At this point, 5 innings of no-run ball. Nothing to be upset about.
Yeah, and it's looking like Lucas Giolito retired the A's their lineup in order the first time through. So he's through 3 innings with only 9 batters faced, which is certainly a good start for him and the White Sox as well.
Yeah, the A's, Luzardo
White
out
Sox
of the game
as well.
already. They pulled him after 3 1/3 innings. Luzardo was at 59 pitches. They decided, I guess they wanted to maybe save his arm a little bit, and he's being rattled. They brought in one of our writers' favorites, JB Wendeleckin, to hopefully limit the damage here in the fourth. Yeah, Callie Sy, a writer here at Diamond Digest, absolute favorite
Yeah,
player.
she's a big Wendelken fan.
Yeah, and I mean, uh, Wendeleckin's been pretty
Yeah.
solid this season. So, from what I can tell, at least, um, looking at his stats really quick: 25 innings pitched, 1.80 ERA, 31 strikeouts. I mean, seems like a solid
That's a
season to
great
me.
relief option. So yeah, he's in with 1 out in the fourth and a runner on second, and he's got um, looks like
Mhm.
Lurie Garcia, who's the 8 hitter in the White Sox lineup, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah,
he's got the bottom of the
he's got the
order to try and get out
bottom
of
of
this
that
inning
lineup.
without any extra damage. But maybe, and yeah, they're showing the White Sox lineup. The White Sox just look nice and loose, like they're feeling good. Um, and maybe notably, we we talked about the White Sox beating up on lefties, and the A's go to a right-handed option here.
Hmm. Yeah, and it looks like Zach Greinke is out of this ball
So
game
final
here
line
in
for
Houston.
Greinke is 4 innings pitched, 1 earned run. Um, I don't know if he had many strikeouts or not. But the Astros will give the ball to Framber Valdez, who is one of their rookies. Um, and he had quite the body of work this year, it looks like. And he's one of those guys.
Yeah, and
Looks like he was in their rotation, but they are using him as a bullpen option this series.
that doesn't surprise me all too much.
It's kind of like we were saying. If you've got
They'd
good
certainly have.
relievers, or if you've got good starters, you're gonna need to use them in relief um, a little bit in postseason.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit more on Greinke's final line of the day. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 3 walks with only 1 strikeout.
Yeah,
So not exactly the day you would quite expect from him, but also, I mean, 1 run in 4 innings. Uh, you can't be too upset about that.
yeah. I mean, they would have liked him to go deeper in the game, I'm sure. Um,
Absolutely.
but make the best with what they have now, and they're still in this game. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and they're showing Maeda in the dugout, and I got a feeling that he might also be done for the
It's
day.
certainly possible. Um, I wouldn't be all that surprised if they decide that
Yeah.
he's done.
Do you think they make that decision based a little bit on the Astros pulling Greinke at all?
No, no, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know that they necessarily felt like they had to have Maeda outduel Greinke. Um,
Right.
and I would say if I'm a manager in these playoffs, I'm mostly looking at my bullpen, independent of the other team's pitching
Anything else?
choices.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Sometimes some things can seem a little reactionary. At least I've witnessed it in the past with some managers. So I'm not saying at all that's what they would do, but
Yeah.
just a thought.
So first batter, Marwin Gonzalez draws a 5 pitch walk.
Hmm.
Yeah, 3 walks in 4 innings for
So
Greinke
we'll
is
see.
certainly out of character, and the Twins just weren't letting him get anything by them really. I mean, you said three walks,
Yeah.
1 strikeout. It's just difficult to really get cooking when you don't quite have control of the zone like that.
Yeah. And here at Target Field, the grounds crew's out, adjusting the mound here a little bit. Yeah, so I don't know if uh, Valdez complained or something,
I don't know.
or
I don't know if I've
someone
necessarily
noticed
seen
something.
this. Okay, Maeda now
Yeah,
has.
I don't think I
Oh, it
have.
looks like it's maybe hardened or something.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Maeda's landing spot is just extremely consistent. So it looks like.
Yeah, no, that does appear
So
to have had something to do with it. As they're showing um, Maeda kind of mapped it out and was standing on that spot, but that's interesting. I don't know if I've seen that.
I don't think I have
Yeah,
either.
we were just talking about Maeda. He's in a sweatshirt in the dugout, so it's looking like he might. That might be the
Hmm.
end of his afternoon. Yeah,
His outing.
and
Yeah.
if he ended at like 91 pitches, I don't I don't know. I think you can't rule him out as a relief option in Game 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. Um, if they get to a game three, also just
Yep.
kind of throw that out there as well. Uh, you definitely won't be seeing him tomorrow, but maybe he might be good for an inning in game three. I don't know if they'd throw him more than one inning.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so now it looks like we're about to get back into some actual action here in Minnesota as the mound has been readjusted or re fixed at all. I'm
Yeah.
still not quite sure what happened.
Interesting. I mean, it's interesting to think about how much that actually was impacting Valdez, if at all. He
Yeah. And I mean if Valdez goes here and strikes out
could have,
three straight, then maybe
yeah,
it was
could have been
did make a
a thing,
difference.
and he certainly felt it was a thing enough to speak up about it. So
Yeah. They are back to the top of the lineup for Minnesota here with Arias back at the plate.
and Greinke is chilling in in the seats behind his dugout.
Honestly, I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm not surprised that he's just like, nah, I'm out. Like, I'm gonna chill up here. Y'all can hang out down here, but I'm
Yeah,
going.
and still wearing a mask even when he's apart from most other people.
Right, which is, I mean,
He's doing his thing.
it's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, Greinke, at least in the past, with stories I've seen, I believe he is one to take hygiene and health very seriously. So this isn't overly surprising to what I've heard about him in the past. But it's I think it's still very good for him to kind of, socially distance and wear that mask. Um, Set a good example for maybe some other
Yeah,
people who are watching.
and you might be able to see here Valdez is not necessarily missing the zone. He's thrown 7 balls and 1 strike since entering the game. He's not necessarily missing the zone. He's just, at least on that last pitch, he missed his spot enough that um, it didn't look great with how Malnata presented it. Just because he had to go and catch the ball and prioritize that over making it look like a strike at all. Um, so yeah, so Valdez finally pumped another pitch in the zone, um, but he's worked another 3-1 count
Mhm.
on Arias.
So we'll see here what he does.
Christian said Twins have a better lineup, starting pitchers and relief pitchers, and yet will somehow blow this game.
So Christian not very confident in the Twins here.
Not at all a fan of the Astros. Ooh, Arias might have just domed a fan. A cardboard cutout fan, that is. Hate to see it.
Unfortunate.
Shows the necessity of extended.
So I do. I remember at first I wasn't a huge fan of the extended netting. I'm like, what? Why? And then I realized, like, no, this makes a whole lot more sense for editing and everything.
No, absolutely.
So
there's really no reason not to do it. You want to prioritize the
absolutely.
safety of your fans more than anything else, and the Astros even had one of the primary
Mhm.
examples of that with a very very unfortunate occurrence last year of a young girl getting hit in the head by a foul ball. And
Yeah,
you know, it's just you can't really defend not having that protection up for your fans. Um, and
absolutely.
you can argue that fans should be watching the game anyway, but that's not always what makes the difference.
Right. It's not always
Yeah.
the problem.
Like I saw a clip last year when that was a big talking point, and it was Shed Long who played second base for the Mariners, and he tried to field a ball hit by Joey Gallo, who is known for hitting the ball very well, very hard. And Shed Long tries to field this
Yeah.
ball, fails to catch it, and comes down like shaking his hand, like, man, that hurt. And that's a guy who is able to field, play defense at a major league level, was ready and alert to the point where he got to the ball, and he still was unable to catch it and came down in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely good for the fans. I think it's assuring, saying that the MLB actually did take some action. Um, Granted, the action did seem a little bit reactionary, but some action is better than no action at all.
And
So
I think that's a change that got overlooked a little bit coming into this year, just with everything else that was going on.
mhm.
But we're still kind of
Right.
in the midst of that movement, and that's a really important one for sure.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely agree. So yeah, but game wise here, Valdez has first and second, no outs, 1-2 count on Byron Buxton here, and Maldonado looked like he just took a shot, a little bit of
Yeah,
pain.
and this is after in one of their last games of the year, Maldonado kind of came down in pain after a play at the plate that ended the game. I believe that was the game Friday night.
Yeah.
He just looked like he landed kind of funny on one of his knees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a play after an errant throw by Jose
Sure
Altuve.
why he was in pain there.
Yeah, he looks okay now though, which is good. Or at least not in pain enough to have trainers look at him or anything like that. He is looking at his hand a little bit.
But yeah, I don't know who
So
their backup catcher is, but obviously your starting catcher is never a guy that you're happy to have go down to an injury more than probably other positions.
oh yeah.
Where you might have organizational depth that in the outfield you probably don't at catcher, at least not near the quality of your
Right.
starter.
Yeah, and looking at their lineup, or not the lineup, sorry, their roster here, it does look like the Astros are carrying three catchers on the roster. Uh, they have Dustin Garneau, who had 38 at bats this season, good for a 158 average. And they also have Garrett Stubbs, who only had 8 at bats this season.
So yeah, they want Maldonado to stay in the game for and he's
Yes,
probably about for most experience. Pitch caller of the three, I would assume too. Game caller.
I would also assume Garneau is also he's 33, but it seems that he hasn't had a storied MLB career. 376 at bats in his career, so that's probably not much more than a season, maybe two, full in the big leagues. Yeah. So, I mean, they do have 3 roster, which is probably a precautionary thing of like we don't want to find ourselves in a situation without a catcher.
When you've got a 28-man roster to work with, having 3 catchers is not a bad idea.
Yeah, and Maldonado. Yeah, also having Maldonado a few years ago go down in some capacity. It looked like the game a few days ago was I think it was his knee that he had hurt.
Which is not good at all for a catcher,
so,
much as a 34-year-old catcher.
Exactly. So, hopefully Maldonado it was just a cramp or something. But we never want to see anyone go down for any reason.
The Twins bring out Nelson Cruz now after Valdez was able to get a couple of outs off of Buxton and Kepler. And they're hoping Cruz can do something here. He came up in the same situation in the first inning and walked to load the bases and prolong the inning, but they got nothing out of that. And yeah, I mean, you'd take a walk from him here, but honestly, I think you'd rather see some kind of contact.
Rather see what he did in the third inning where he drove in Kepler from first on a hard hit ball to right. So, nice play by Bregman here. Ends the inning similar to the first inning when Sano kind of rolled a ball over, slow roller to third, and Bregman makes a nice play. Cruz now a victim of Bregman's defense.
He's running about like the 40-year-old big man that he is. So yeah, if you're the Twins, you'd much rather see Buxton or even Kepler do that. But having Sano and Cruz, you can't necessarily expect to get something out of it.
Right. So, either way, the inning's over there. We'll see what the Twins do here. Do they bring Maeda back out? Do they bring in, I believe they had Weissler up in the pen, or maybe in that time they got someone else up ready to go.
I think they had Trevor May.
Did they have Trevor May up? All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens here then. I think I'd like to see Maeda back out there.
And yeah, we'll see. Something else notable for Maeda that we didn't really talk about in the moment was he was iced a little bit with Greinke really getting put to work in the first. So after Maeda had a fairly solid first inning, he had to sit on the bench and wait for a while before he could come back out for the second.
Right, a second in which he had to throw a bit more pitches. This spot a little bit more. Which, I mean, ultimately, they see that, and like he was sitting for a good bit of time here as well. After the 2 walks, them fixing the mound for whatever reason that we're still really unsure of, and then just recording those 3 outs too. It wasn't a short amount of time, so.
No, but especially in a 0-1 ball game, we thought we might be, 2 hours and 20 minutes into the game, we thought we might be a little deeper than starting the 6th inning.
Yeah. You think maybe you'd be in the 7th or 8th by now, especially with the pitching matchup. I mean, those were guys who can get some quick outs, as they did show. Maeda with that 10-pitch last inning, and Greinke, I believe his second was only around 10 or 11 pitches as well. So, as we get back on here, we'll see what the Twins here decide to do. We're about to get back on, and it does look like Maeda is out of this game. Trevor May is the new pitcher for the Twins. Yeah, looked like he had a solid year. 38-7 strikeout to walk rate, 3.86 ERA in about 25 games. So he comes in to face Brantley first, and we'll see how his relief appearance fares here versus the start of Valdez's for the Astros. So Maeda's final stat line of the day. Pull that up here really quick. Maeda on the day, 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts on 91 pitches.
Not a bad outing by any means.
No, not at all. You have to ask for 4 innings out of your bullpen, which honestly, if I believe the Twins have the guys to do it in a 1-0 game here. So we'll see how it goes. The Astros lineup hasn't looked dangerous today.
But yeah, quick out there. So 3 pitches in, and May has 1 out. And I don't know if May is a guy that they stretch out at all. I mean, he is definitely a reliever. But yeah, no.
Right.
24
and
23 and a third innings pitched. So likely May's only here for the 6th inning.
Yes. But they did have the confidence to bring him in against the Astros 3, 4, 5 hitters. So Brantley, Bregman, and Tucker, certainly no joke in that lineup there. And he seems to be hitting the spots, at least for this first 5 pitches here. So if this is their first guy out of the pen, I'd say it probably looks good for the rest of their pen as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, May is a guy, at least I didn't hear a ton about during the season. I feel like when you hear about this Twins team, all you really hear about is the offense. At least as a fan of not really even an AL team, I watch a lot of National League baseball. So I can't tell you much for Trevor May's season or most of either of these teams' bullpens or anything that's too intricate like that. But they seem confident in May, and he seems to be playing well enough, pitching well enough here as he gets Bregman to fly out to left.
Certainly getting outs more quickly than any other pitcher has in this game so far.
He might bring this game time down a little bit all on his own.
That was a pretty well hit ball from Bregman. He didn't kill it, but okay.
It was
85.5 exit velocity, so certainly not anything that would get out of the park, but
no. Well, it looked well hit. But yeah, the Astros. I'm not sure what their hardest hit ball in the day is, but I don't think it'd be all too high though. The Twins seem to have been getting all this weak contact, getting out of strikeouts from Maeda. I mean, 5 strikeouts through 5 innings.
The hardest hit ball for the Astros was a 101.1 mile per hour single. So, not
okay.
They're
so
really not killing it, the ball, by any means.
No.
The Twins have definitely been making harder contact. Hasn't resulted in much other than the 1 run so far.
Yeah, it was their hardest hit ball of the day. I'd imagine it's probably Cruz's 105.9 double to right. It would be.
When Ryan Jeffers hit it straight at pile to
Oh,
the
yeah.
field. That was 109.5. Um, yeah, he hit
That's
that one hard. He
hard hit
just didn't have
ball.
the angle to really carry the launch angle. But yeah,
Yeah.
if that's very far
Yeah,
off
that's a,
of either, if he doesn't hit that straight at the defender, pretty much, that's got a lot better chance of falling in. But
absolutely. Yeah, but a quick quickening of work
yeah,
there
that's
for
gotta feel
May.
good.
He gets out of that.
And
Yeah, it probably feels good for Twins
yeah,
knowing they made the rich call.
and speaking of
Seemingly,
quick
anyway.
work, um, the White Sox and the A's are through 5 innings now. So we're headed to the bottom. We're headed to the bottom of the seventh, and they will be starting the top of the sixth at about the same time. And Giolito is blowing through the A's for the most part. They've gotten some solid contact off of him. Um, Actually, a couple hard hit balls, but they've all turned into outs so far. Um, so yeah, I mean he's through
Yeah,
5 innings pitched, and he's actually
kind of a
yeah
cool
he
thing
is
going
he's
on
doing
there
a
for
cool
him.
thing. That is true. And 60 yeah, and
He's doing a
60
really cool
pitches.
thing.
He's he hasn't worked too hard to accomplish that.
Yeah, Wendell Etkin still in the game there for the A's. Um, I'm not sure if they really stretch him out much. It seems like he can definitely go a couple innings based on the fact that in the regular season he pitched 25 innings in 21 games. Uh, so I I didn't think that he would be the first choice out of that bullpen to go uh, multiple innings. They do have Yusmeira Petit, who's been a career spot starter. He can definitely give you a few innings. Um, so he's also been a good option for them the last couple of years, actually. Former Giant, that's why I know him well. So I didn't think Wendell Leckham would be exactly a inning
Yeah,
eater.
no, and he's definitely been more of a reliever for them. But it's nice that they have him. They can put him in the game and grab some outs that Luzardo was not able to get. Keep them down by only 3 runs, which you know their lineup is not necessarily super hard hitting, but 3 runs you can score. You can put up
No.
3 runs if they really need to. Um, So yeah, it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see how that continues to play out. Giolito is making it look like they will by no means put up any runs today.
Yeah. If he continues his pace here. Yeah, but coming back to the game here, Valdez still out there for the Astros. After his first inning of work, he had 22 innings. That first pitch of the inning here was his 23rd pitch of the game. So this also seems like a guy that can stretch out a bit. Like you said, he was a starter for him this year.
Sorry, Trevor
You
May.
mentioned
Valdez. Yeah,
Valdez was a
I believe he
starter.
was a starter.
No,
Yeah.
Valdez for the
Let me check
Astros.
out his stats.
Okay,
Framber Valdez. Quite a name, Framber.
I know, an interesting
Um,
one. I kind of like it.
yeah,
Unique,
11
fun.
games pitched, 10 games started. So he definitely started more than he came out of the bullpen this
Okay,
year. And he put in quite a body of work. I mean, in those 11 games, he had almost 71 innings pitched. Um, so he could just
that's
keep
impressive.
chugging through this game likely.
Do you think there's probably a pretty good chance that he finishes this game out
Oh,
for
it
the Astros
depends.
then?
I think if they take a lead, they might want to turn it over to Ryan Presley and make sure they get this win.
Yeah, that's true.
But as long as their offense
Yeah,
is not putting
agreed.
up runs, I think he's a fine option to leave in the game. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
he actually pitched really well this year. now that I'm looking at it more. He had a 3.57 ERA, but if you look at his FIP, it's down to 2.85. So he's a very
That's
legit
pretty good.
guy to leave in this game, and I would buy an argument that they could have given Greinke another inning. I might even make that argument myself, but turning it over
Yeah.
to Valdez, not a bad idea.
Yeah, he's looked good here even. His off-speed stuff is looking really nice. His curveball, it's got a lot of movement on it, a lot of vertical movement.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know if they really have in mind that they're going to use Greinke again in this series, but just with how Greinke was kind of laboring a little bit, it not a terrible idea to just get another guy in the game.
Yeah, it was. He definitely had a lot of stressful pitches, especially after that first inning. So I don't blame him at all for taking him out. Certainly could be seen as a questionable decision by Dusty Baker. Ultimately, if the Astros don't put up any runs here, you can't fault Greinke at all for anything for giving up one against Minnesota. So I could definitely see that move becoming highly criticized depending on the outcome of this game. But yeah, Valdez's curveball is looking really nasty.
Ooh, yeah, that was a good one. I think your stream ended up getting a little bit ahead of mine.
I believe so as well. So yeah, he's fighting against Sano here. We see he's performing well.
Almost got a swing and miss on another curveball. Sano just barely got a piece of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this Astros defense. They mentioned it earlier on like the actual broadcast of the game, but their defense, one of the best in the league. They had a 991, I believe, field percentage as a team, which is pretty good. The Astros,
No, I actually
their
saw
defense.
Their defense rated pretty poorly overall.
Well, then I might just be wrong.
If we're looking at, I'm looking at Fangraphs team defense stats, and the Astros come in with the third worst defense in baseball, according to that stat.
Oh. What about the Twins? Maybe it was for the Twins.
The Twins ranked 10th. Still negative by that metric, but
not the top. Who did have the best defense? Yeah. Okay, that doesn't surprise me.
Had Matt Chapman rocking over there at third. Only 9
Matt Olson at first
teams had a positive defensive value according to Fangraphs defense metric. The Athletics, Padres, Cubs, Cardinals, Indians, Rockies, Rays, White Sox, and Diamondbacks. It's probably interesting how much that value for the White Sox comes from Luis Robert only.
Probably.
Yeah.
He's an incredible defender.
Let me check it really quickly and see how much he had alone. 3.4. So with a 0 in his place, they'd be negative, but it's not like he, brought them up from -10 to +2.
Right. Still though, I mean, 3.4 is
that's
sizable.
Most MLB teams are negative, so
yeah. Certainly doing his part.
It's interesting that most of the season, and ultimately it ended up working out that last year's World Series teams, the Astros and the Nationals, were third worst and worst defenses in baseball. Especially
that is
the
interesting.
Nationals have Victor Robles in center field.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Calls into question who else they have out there. But Valdez gets out of the sixth
Certainly does.
inning, has not allowed another run. We are going to take a quick break, headed into the seventh inning, and we will be back in just a moment. All right, so we're back here for the top of the seventh. The Twins, as expected, have pulled Trevor May after one inning, and they turn it over to Tyler Duffy.
Tyler Duffy. Tyler Duffy, coming out of that Twins bullpen, has looked really good this season. He pitched 22 games, 24 innings to a 1.88 ERA.
That's pretty good. So the Twins.
Yeah, 31 strikeouts in those 24 innings
that's
pitched.
A good curveball he's rocking. So the Twins
Mm-hmm.
definitely coming out with their best bullpen options, and if you can go Trevor May, Tyler Duffy, and they've still got Tyler Clippard and Taylor Rogers sitting at the back end of that bullpen. Um, you know, you can kind of understand why they might have felt pretty good pulling Maeda after 5.
Yeah. This bullpen is definitely giving them confidence to be able to pull those starters if they get up a little bit high in innings or in pitches early on.
I don't know if they necessarily think they're going to come right out with the same guys again tomorrow. I mean, we saw Trevor May only threw 8 or 9 pitches, so you would think that he's certainly available.
Uh-huh.
And they also have, even beyond their top 3 starters, it depends on how they see Randy Dobnak. I would assume they're going to try and use him as a starter if they think they'll need it. But they could throw Jose Barrios tomorrow, and then they still know that
Mm-hmm.
assuming they can make it out of this game with these 4 guys pitching, with, like we were saying, Trevor May, now Tyler Duffy, and then
turn the ball to Tyler Clippard and to Taylor Rogers. And, then they can come out tomorrow, and even if they throw Berrios as a starter, they've got Dobnak, who hasn't pitched yet in the series. They've got Rich Hill, who hasn't pitched yet in the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and according to the MLB.com app, Barrios is scheduled to start for Minnesota tomorrow. So we're likely going to be seeing him there. So I would imagine that would leave Dobnak available out of the bullpen.
Dobnak did start.
Um,
All of his 10 appearances this season were starts. But I would assume that if tomorrow they want to just lock the game down, they might turn the ball over to him.
Yeah, because he is a rookie this season. He looked pretty impressive in quite a few of his starts. He kind of tampered off a little bit towards the end of the season. But nonetheless, he's a guy where I feel like the Twins know he's fully capable of just dealing against even a quality team as the Astros appear to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, this Astros lineup, they've just been hitting into outs, and they haven't looked all that threatening. Correa's upset after a check swing that gets him for strike 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. The bottom end of this Astros lineup, as just as I'm saying this, Josh Reddick lines a single to prove me wrong. But the bottom end of this Astros lineup hasn't really looked threatening at all, and the top end and the middle haven't quite put anything together enough to really mount a threat. So we'll see if Martin Maldonado can try and buck that trend here with 2 outs and a runner on first now. But Tyler Duffy is still feeling fine. I mean, giving up 1 single, not that big of a deal.
Yeah. So we'll see. I feel like Duffy can certainly work his way out of this. But then again, runner on first, never ideal. Yeah, you got a tough play at third that is unable to be made by Gonzalez. So likely so. I would think so. Yeah, it's a tough play, a high backhand as he's going down to a knee. Still makes it. I mean, he makes the throw to first, sort of, in vain, but he wasn't horribly off. Well, Nana beats it by about a step.
I was incorrect again. That was only an 80-mile-per-hour exit velocity, 79.2. But just took a weird hop on Gonzalez. It looked like it was hit a little harder. So we're gonna check on Tyler Duffy now. As
here we like to think 80-mile-per-hour balls look really hard hit, because they do.
Yeah, I mean, and it's easy to forget how fast that still is.
Oh yeah. Especially with a weird hop at third base. So yeah, you like to make a big deal of the 100 plus exit velocities because that seems to be the standard for a hit nowadays. But I mean, 80 miles per hour. I wouldn't like to be standing at third if that's hit at me.
You could argue that Marwin Gonzalez could have fielded that more cleanly, but that was ruled a single, not an error, and yeah, tough.
Yeah. But it does bring around the top of the lineup for the Astros with Springer at bat with 2 on, 2 out. And now we got Duffy giving up the run.
Oh, yep, there's a base hit. So
you got a tie game here in Minnesota.
Easy out at third base on Maldonado.
doesn't run very well. Ends the inning. Yeah, for sure.
Smart throw by Buxton.
But Springer comes through, and now the Twins. We were talking about if they can hold the Astros to no runs, but they've got to figure out a way to put a run up on the board for themselves again now.
Yep. Yeah, so now turning it over to the bottom of the seventh year. The other game's still currently going on in Oakland. Lucas Giolito still doing some pretty cool things.
Doing that very cool.
Struck out the side in the sixth.
Yeah,
Or not the sixth. Yeah.
And
the sixth. My bad.
That puts him at six
73 pitches through six.
So he certainly is looking very, very good. And, even with all of the excellent pitchers that are slated to throw in this wild card series, he might already be turning in the best start that we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Luzardo in that game doesn't go very deep, but JB Wendelken, 2 2/3, doesn't surrender he surrenders one hit, but no walks, 3 strikeouts. Gotta be happy with that performance from him if you're the A's.
To continue, like I said, giving them a chance if their offense wants to ever try and take them up on that.
Absolutely.
But
yeah. So interesting here now in this game as we're now tied for the first time since the second inning?
Bottom of the third, yeah, is when
third inning.
Cruz, I believe, gave the Twins a 1-0 lead.
Yeah. So now we see here. What do you think goes from here on out?
I don't know if this changes. I think the Astros' plan was to just ride Valdez for a while, and I think they're going to keep doing that.
Right.
Because with how well he pitched this year, and he's got the stamina. He's thrown a lot of innings this year. I think it's perfectly fair for them, especially when a lot of their relief options are rookies, to at least stretch him for another inning here. And I don't know if they have in mind that he'll be available tomorrow or even Thursday for Game 3 if there is one. But I see. They're obviously, this game isn't won yet, and I think that keeping him in is a perfectly fine approach to try and grab a win here. So I don't see any reason why they would replace him.
Absolutely. Especially because, frankly, he's looked just really good in his relief appearance here. So yeah, now we have a pinch hitter here for the Twins though, and Mitch Garver.
Are they taking out Jeffers?
Yeah, pinch hitting for Ryan Jeffers, which is an interesting call.
Certainly not the hitter he was a year ago. He was an important part of that team that broke the single-season home run record. And this year he has just 2 home runs, and they just showed up on screen a .511 OPS, which most guys, maybe not most guys, but the best hitters in the league have a slugging percentage alone that exceeds that. So.
So yeah, I'd say, but you're also pitch hitting for your catcher here. So the other options they have Williams Astudillo, who is I'd say a fan favorite around the league.
Yeah.
You gotta love him. And they also have Alex Davila as a backup catcher.
Guys that can play catcher. I don't know if they still consider Astudillo a catcher.
I would say I think they do. I'm not quite sure. I can look it up real quick. Exactly how they've been used in this year, as they have Garver go down on strikes. So yeah, Astudillo only appeared in 6 games this year for the Twins, but all of them at catcher.
Yeah. So may not see him tonight if they just brought in Garver, but he's certainly there.
Right.
I'm guessing he wasn't exactly, he wasn't exactly playing or on fire if they're not using him too frequently.
Yeah. And now, I mean, Gonzalez quick out.
Yeah. So the Twins suddenly are going down pretty quickly at the hands of Valdez. And, if Valdez gets through this inning and maybe one more, he might be, the Astros kind of MVP of this game. Being able to come in relief, hold the Twins scoreless, keep the Astros right in the game, and as we can see, they've already tied it.
Yeah. The Twins appear to be hitting panicked a little bit.
I would agree. I think they were a little bit more comfortable while they had the lead, which makes sense. But yeah, not looking terribly comfortable. Yeah, Arias looked pretty unsettled on that pitch. I mean, shuffled his pitch as it's being delivered, or shuffled his feet as the pitch is coming in.
Yeah, and he's got a funky batting stance.
I don't know if that's one that many people emulate.
But yeah, it's certainly not something I've seen before. But yeah, this game feels like a whole new ball game here.
And back in Oakland, Tim Anderson has another hit, so he's 3 for 4 now. Got a double. Yeah.
Impressive start.
He's excited to be in the playoffs, as he should be.
Yeah, certainly playing like he wants to stay in the playoffs.
And they've got Yohan Moncada hitting right behind him, who I'm sure they'd love to see wake up a little bit.
Yeah. Yohan Moncada, an interesting name, because he's been around the league for a little bit too. I feel like he's. When did he debut?
2017. Was it that?
2016.
Did he crack the majors?
I think it was 2016.
Did he crack the majors with Boston then? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's only 25 years old.
Last year was an excellent player for the White Sox. Driven partially by a batting average on balls in play over 400, which, he made really good contact that justified it a little bit. And this year he's seen his average exit velocity dip by 5 full miles per hour.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's got to be one of the biggest year-over-year drops in exit velocity for a hitter, and it's directly translated into a drop in results. And so I'm sure they're going to be trying to figure that out over the course of the offseason. And, like you mentioned, he's only 25. There's no reason to believe that it's a long-term issue necessarily. But
right.
That's tough. And in a lineup that's been so killer all year, if Moncada had been what he was last year, these White Sox would have been an absolute force.
Oh yeah, they probably win that division.
Easily.
With probably a 3-4 game lead, I'd say.
Yeah, no, they probably. We don't have that game up here, but he just got rung up on a rough call on the outside corner. But the Twins have turned in the third out of the seventh, so we go to the eighth inning now, and it remains a 1-1 ball game. So now it's going to be a matter of who can get to the other team's bullpen, and the Astros already have done that once. They grabbed a run off of Tyler Duffy, as we saw in last inning, but no.
Yeah. I think it's something also worth noting here. Something that was unique to the 2020 season was the extra inning rule. The runner starting on second, which I believe is now gone for the playoffs, right?
It is indeed gone. And some people are saying that more harmful than that rule being in effect is that's kind of a major rule change that exists between the regular season and the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I'd say teams probably aren't Actually, I don't know. They could be upset about it. I'm not sure how they actually feel because people I've seen complain about like what you just mentioned that made a real change have been like the writers, the fans on Twitter, and all
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure relief pitchers don't mind.
Oh, I am absolutely certain relief pitchers don't mind. So, I mean, I'm not saying that we'll see that come into effect here, but it certainly
Yep.
can. The 1-1 ball game heading into the eighth inning, uh, we certainly could see it go into extras.
Yeah, which would be it'd be quite a game, quite a first game of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'd say that either way, even if it doesn't, there's a good chance that A's White Sox game finishes
Yeah,
first.
I think so. I mean, we are in the top of the eighth here, and Giolito's about to go out for the bottom of the seventh, and he's made every inning. He's worked pretty quick so far. So it's you are correct. It's entirely possible. If we get one more big delay here, we might be looking at a decently long ball game.
Yeah. And so a substitution here for the Twins. We did see Jeffers be pinch hit for, and Alex Avila is now behind the plate for Minnesota.
Yeah. So they're seeing how many catchers they can use in one game.
They're up to 3.
And the Twins do not go to Clippard or to Taylor Rogers. They turn the ball back to Tyler Duffy, who with 15 pitches now will face Jose Altuve. Um,
In the middle of that order, 2, 3,
yeah,
4.
and I don't know if Duffy's a guy that they've typically had, that they've typically stretched out this year. I'm taking a look at that now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Might be a little stretched out
yeah,
here.
for sure. Tyler Duffy. 22 games, 24 innings pitched. So not very frequently that he sees more than an inning. But he actually has been um, one of their best pitchers. And especially by FIP, he has the lowest, other than Michael Pineda, of all pitchers on the Twins. Um, so it's justifiable to keep him out here, especially if you don't want to dip too much into the rest of their bullpen. And I think it's certainly understandable that they have confidence in him to not give up another run.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting. I had actually forgotten about Pineda, but I believe he came back at the end of the year and
So
made 5 starts and looked really good in those 5 starts. Didn't allow a single home run, which obviously could change, but if they consider him their third starter, they might even have Dobnak as purely a relief option in this series.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dobnak come into probably not this game now, but come into a game tomorrow. Um, I'd imagine they would use Dob kind of not as a one inning guy. So
So
now we
for
see.
all those interested, which is likely about everyone, Giolito's cool things are suddenly much less cool. He has allowed a hit to Tommy La Stella to open the 7th inning.
Boo.
So no hitter, no perfect game, but still, no matter what happens from here, a hell of a performance through 6 innings for Giolito.
Yeah, he's still looking really good there.
I mean, he came close to gloving it, and but
yeah, still a fantastic performance so far from him. We'll see if he can keep it up. Still, he only has 78 pitches
yeah,
so far in that game. So very good chance to see him go through 7, 8, maybe even all the way through 9.
yeah, could be, and that'd be huge for the White Sox. I mean, if they come in tomorrow with a 1-game lead and a fresh bullpen, it's hard to see the
It'd be
A's
big.
coming out of that series.
Yeah, and a lot of people I've seen that pretty split on the A's and the White Sox on who they think might win the series, which I think is totally fair. They both these teams have played pretty well all season. Um, Personally, I really like the A's.
Yeah,
Um, I just really enjoy watching that team. I think they're a lot of fun. Definitely less potent without Matt Chapman in that lineup, though.
yeah, and coming into today, before today's game started, I wouldn't have been terribly confident picking one way or the other. now,
Yeah,
pretty much 7 innings into game one, I would put a bet on the White Sox for sure.
I think I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's still 3-0 game there. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Now, coming back to this game here, this Houston Minnesota game, Duffy is out of the game now. They've decided to go back to their bullpen and bring in. It looks like it's going to be Taylor Rogers
Yeah, I didn't
for the
see, but
Twins.
Rogers is a good option here. The next hitter in the Astros lineup, if I'm not mistaken, is Michael Brantley. So
You would be correct.
getting the lefty on lefty option or matchup right away is always nice. And yeah, Rogers is pretty legit himself. So um,
Yeah,
if he can come out of this inning clean, then the Twins have two opportunities in the bottom of the eighth, bottom of the ninth to grab a run and come out with a win in this game.
yeah. And Taylor Rogers, I believe, at least he used to be the Twins closer.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he is now.
he had a 4.05 ERA, so possibly not.
Yeah,
But still 24 strikeouts this year to just 4 walks. Um, so he can
just
command the zone pretty well, and if he can make it through the heart of the Astros order here without giving up a run, things look pretty good for the Twins.
yeah, I'd agree. And what I like about Taylor Rogers is the fact that I believe he's the best lefty coming out of this bullpen for the Twins.
I think so.
Uh, yeah, and so um, I like the confidence that the Twins have in him here, despite him having kind of like a rougher season.
Yeah, he was very good in 2019. Um,
Yeah,
just not quite as good this year, but still very solid. And a lot of his underlying statistics suggest that he got fairly unlucky. We talk about Kenta Maeda having the best BABIP in baseball, the lowest. Taylor Rogers had a very high BABIP, which suggests that
okay,
even with how he was throwing this year, he was pretty unlucky to get the results he had. Um, and so there's no reason for the Twins to think now that he doesn't have the stuff to get it done here.
right, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Taylor also has a brother in the major leagues as well who plays for the Giants, and Tyler Rogers, twin brother, and he is a fun guy to watch because he's a submarine guy.
Interesting. I didn't know that at all.
I'm surprised because I talk about it a lot. Yeah, pure submarine. He throws probably maybe 7, 8 inches off the ground.
That's fun.
Yeah, really fun to watch. One of my favorite relievers.
Is he
Throws a solid like 80 miles per hour fastball.
is he a lefty too?
85. No, I believe he's a righty.
Okay.
Like you gotta do something fun though. I mean,
Man,
they look very similar.
oh yeah, I bet if they're twins. But
Yeah, they are identical.
even if I had twins as kids, I don't think I could name them Taylor and Tyler.
Yeah,
I would never.
yeah, it's a little
I would
rough.
never tell them apart.
Yeah, and you can't call him like T or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not a nickname that's gonna work. Yeah. As we're in the eighth here, another game has actually started around the league here as the Blue Jays and Rays are now in the top of the first.
Yes. So 3 games all going on at once, which not too far fetched, but
Yes.
we maybe anticipated that this current game would be a little bit closer to the end of the game than it currently is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Or,
okay.
or at least the White Sox A's not being as far along as it
Yeah,
is.
no, and we'll take all the baseball we can get. Taylor
Absolutely.
Rogers made a great pitch there. That's his.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's like a slider he's got working.
Duffy's loving
Yeah.
that.
Thanks for bailing me out, man.
He's not quite out of
No,
it yet.
not at all.
He's going though.
Strikeout on Brantley is a big start. Bregman is probably the toughest hitter he's gonna face now.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how this goes for him. I'd say getting ahead in the Scout Hero 1 is big for him, which is what he has now. I think so many people forget how important it is to be up in the count early.
Oh yeah, and I think he's gonna, hitting the zone, especially with that first strike, but through this whole at bat, Bregman's a guy who will take a walk anytime you're gonna give it to him. So making sure that you're throwing strikes here is definitely important.
Absolutely.
A walk here, and Rogers we mentioned is a guy that doesn't really give walks too much, but a walk here certainly would not feel good. Suddenly then you've got first and second, one out, and you're really struggling. You got a guy in scoring position. You're struggling to keep him from crossing the plate.
Right.
Ooh. And there's that sweeping.
Almost hits Bregman.
Sweeping breaking ball type. I didn't realize Taylor Rogers almost has a Chris Sale like delivery. That last ball definitely made me think of Chris Sale.
Yeah, I never realized it either. He does have a release point that's
wide,
kind of somewhere in between like the high 3/4, mid level. I don't know. It's like I think he has a nice delivery there.
Yeah. And he gets a huge out to keep it with a runner on first and one out, runner on first and 2 outs now. Here in the top of the 8th. And, it's possible Rogers is only 8 pitches in. It's possible that they've got in mind that he'll end up closing this game or going out for the top of the 9th.
Yeah.
And here he faces Kyle Tucker, like we were mentioning before with the 3-batter minimum rule. He faces Kyle Tucker now, who's also a lefty. So you bring in Taylor Rogers, who's a solid lefty relief option, and you've got 2 of the 3 batters he's facing are lefties. And that's probably some of the thought process of if you're Rocco Baldelli, right, trying to figure out what reliever you're going to bring in.
Right. And I think he is benefiting quite a bit from the veteran Alex Sevilla behind the plate there, too. That's something that I probably wouldn't have put a ton of thought into, that change. But, I mean, because Ryan Jeffers, the catcher who started the game, only 23 years old.
Really?
Yeah. So getting a veteran back there calling the end of this game is probably beneficial for everybody.
Yeah. Maybe not the Astros.
Maybe not the Astros. Nonetheless, Taylor Rogers does get out of the inning, though. Gets ready to fly out to right. So they now head to the bottom 8 there, where you'll see 2, 3, 4 come up for the Twins.
Yeah, so this bottom 8 will be a big inning, and I wonder if we'll see Framber Valdez again or not, or if the Astros decide to go to a more high leverage relief option.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Valdez has looked really good, so, and it's still a tie game. I expect Valdez to be back out there. So we'll see how that goes. Over in Tampa Bay, we have Blake Snell through the first. Not much problems. He did issue a walk to Randall Grichuk, but now through that inning after he strikes out Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So you got Schumacher coming out for the the Blue Jays at the beginning of that game as well.
Man, speaking of Guerrero, I'm sure we could go into a whole discourse on him. Because he certainly not looking like the number 1 prospect he was last preseason. I mean, he's an above-average hitter, but not by much.
Yeah, and you got to think that maybe the shortened season does impact that a little bit, everything that's going on. But you could also make the argument that it's just maybe he's not quite panning out how he's projected to. But, I mean, nonetheless, he's still 21 years old.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's got time. And like you said, still an above-average hitter. Not by much, but above average nonetheless.
Yeah. No, I mean, you'll take that.
Mm-hmm. What I'm excited for is when we eventually see Wander Franco debut for the
Yeah,
Rays.
man. That'll be great.
I'm very excited for that debut, whenever it may be.
Yeah. And I mean Guerrero, he still ranks pretty highly in a lot of, especially in hard hit statistics. Um,
Oh yeah,
and
he can get a hold of
yeah, and
one.
his strikeout numbers are totally fine. Um,
Yeah, he's not looking bad.
yeah, he's just not looking quite as great as we thought he might.
Right. He's still got plenty of time to figure it out, so we'll see. So yeah, still a 1-1 ball game here. The Astros are actually out hitting the Twins 5-2, which I mean it doesn't feel like it since the Twins have had more walks than the Astros. But nonetheless, the Astros have gotten more balls in play than the Twins have,
Yeah, and Valdez has not allowed a hit in his 3 innings of work now.
which is impressive.
Yeah,
He is back out there for another inning.
yeah, not surprised. And he was only at what 40-ish pitches after 3 innings.
Yeah, he's at that was his 48th
Oh,
pitch. It was
48. Okay.
his first pitch of this. Yeah. Either way, but if he's a starter, 48,
Yeah,
that's not much for him. Especially since they haven't been stressful pitches when it was on.
yeah, and man, that curveball looks mighty fine to Buxton.
Oh yeah, that curveball is looking fantastic. It's a nice curve. Yeah. Still, going back to Oakland really quick. It is now 4-0 ball game there, as Yasmani Grandal homers off of Joaquin Soria.
Oof. Yeah, Soria has been one of the A's best bullpen options this year too, so that's tough to bring him in
Yeah.
and give up another run. And
Yeah, it's a little tough for
yeah, I
him.
mean, if you're the A's, you've got to hope to get something out of your offense because either Giolito's still looking great, or if the White Sox turn to a bullpen option, they've got several that are probably pretty tough to crack.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mean, Giolito, uh, he has 94 pitches
Through
uh,
7.
through 7. Yeah. So
Interesting.
I would probably imagine. I mean, we've seen him go over 100 before, and if you don't plan on using him, which I'm sure they don't after this start, um, I wouldn't be overly surprised to see him go
Oh yeah,
another inning. But you by no means need to throw him out there for another inning.
and he's been pretty dominant, so
Oh yeah, he's been absolutely dominant.
there's question of whether.
I mean, one hit, 8 strikeouts for him
Yeah,
today. So he's looked really good. But Valdez here, still looking really good. 2 pretty quick outs here. He struck out Buxton on 3 straight curveballs, made Buxton look like a JV baseball player out there for that one
oh
at
yeah,
bat.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and he's thrown 5 pitches this inning. To
Uh
get
huh.
to get 2
Already with
outs.
2
Yeah.
outs.
So the Twins again. Nelson Cruz comes up in a spot where you'd love to see something big out of him.
Mm-hmm. Nelson Cruz certainly capable of changing the score with one swing of the bat.
Yeah. But Valdez is making it look like that's not going to happen.
Absolutely. I'm very impressed by Valdez here. Like, I mean, I had no idea who he was coming to this game.
Yeah, I had heard his name, but I hadn't realized that he was quite so good and so important to the Astros this year.
Yeah, that curveball is pretty nasty.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say if any team has a solid chance of, even if the Astros do end up taking this game, I'd say if any team has a solid chance of coming back from a 1-0 hole, it would be the Twins. I think the Twins have more pitching depth than the Astros. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Valdez has absolutely been awesome for the Astros today. If they grab a win, they owe it to him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if they continue to use Valdez in a relief role throughout the playoffs, like assuming they make it past this round, if he keeps pitching like this, that's a pretty darn impressive out of the bullpen
Yeah, and
arm.
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if they can afford to use him in relief the whole postseason. Honestly, I think they'll need. I think they'll need him to start games when you're getting into 5 and potentially 7 game series. Um,
This is true.
you know that there's no off days in there. You're gonna need at least 4 starters.
You're right. Either way, though, he does strike out Cruz,
Ouch.
and now they're moving to top 9. Yeah, that curveball.
So we go to the 9th inning, still in a 1-1 tie.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm the Astros, I say you have no reason to take him out of this game, even if you take the lead here.
Yeah, honestly, he's 56 pitches and he's cruising.
Yeah, what was that, a 8-pitch inning? 9 pitch inning?
Maybe. But yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been pretty impressive. He's really come out and shown that he's legit.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what they do here. The Twins, I think they might switch it up. Taylor Rogers did look good there in the inning, but that their broadcast mentioned something about a bullpen arm warming up. I didn't quite catch who it was.
I believe was getting warm in the Twins bullpen.
Okay. All right, so we might see a pitching change here. There's no promises, no guarantees of that. We're gonna have to just wait it out. But if they do bring in Sergio Romo, I do believe he was someone who was closing out games for them at one point throughout the year. He's definitely been a closer in the past. In his days with the Giants back in the early 2010s, he was a closer for them at one point.
Yes, for sure.
So certainly not new to these late inning high leverage matchups.
No, not at all. And he's a guy that's been there plenty of times.
Absolutely. So we'll see exactly how, if they bring him in. If they don't, I think Rogers is still a perfectly viable option to leave out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Rogers looked pretty good in the top of the inning. Undoubtedly.
Yeah, he did. They do have Gurriel, Correa, and Reddick coming up, who I believe are 3 right-handed hitters.
Yeah, so maybe bring in Romo. But I mean, I have faith in Rogers to get those guys out if I'm the Twins. So we'll see.
I do too.
But also, I don't know that they would have been warming Romo that early if they didn't think they were going to use them.
Plus, you save Rogers for a potential game tomorrow where he's needed.
For sure. I mean, if Houston puts their lineup together the same way, you're going to have that same gauntlet of Brantley, Bregman, and Kyle Tucker. And with the 2 out of 3 lefties in there, you'd love to throw Taylor Rogers out there against him every time.
Mm-hmm. And Sergio Romo is in this game. He had 23 strikeouts to 7 walks this year, a 1.15 whip, and a fantastic beard.
Oh, yeah. Incredible. That beard's...
So, yeah, he's going to be facing Gurriel here.
Yeah, Romo may be old, but that beard is timeless.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Big fan. He didn't have that thing in SF, so it was a lot shorter. But he could have rivaled Brian Wilson with that thing if he let it grow out. He does unfortunately give up the single to Gurriel here.
Wow, what a swing to get a single on, man.
Right. Just poke it into center. Just hit it where the defense ain't.
Yeah, clearly. It's that easy, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know why everyone doesn't do it.
So
Yeah.
we just.
Romo,
Go ahead.
he is 37 years old, but still has some pretty good movement on those pitches.
Yeah. I haven't watched him too much this year, but obviously the results speak for themselves. He's been doing pretty fine.
Yeah.
Over in Oakland, we are headed to the bottom of the eighth, where all indications are that Giolito will be back out for the eighth inning. And if he goes 8 scoreless, what a performance!
Absolutely.
I mean, I think.
And he can.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you
I think
go.
I think a lot of the White Sox, a lot of questions about the White Sox in this series are, if Giolito can throw a good start. And now that he has, I think for a lot of people that'll make the White Sox look a bit more formidable in their minds. Obviously Giolito's a great pitcher, and it's not like you can expect him to go out and just lay down to get beat in the postseason. But there's always a question of how a guy will do, in your first postseason start, and in a strange season in an away ballpark. I think that just magnifies how impressive this has been from him today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, like his counterpart to that game, Luzardo, also his first postseason start. A little bit different. He is a rookie. Giolito isn't, but Giolito definitely got the better end of the deal there. And here in Minnesota, we got first and second as Correa also pokes a single to center field. Not exactly hard contact going on here in this inning.
No, and that's got to feel maybe more brutal if you're Romo.
Yeah, because he's making some pretty decent pitches and he's getting swings, but they're making just enough contact to get it over the infield and not far enough.
And man, Byron Buxton's fast.
Yeah.
He's not that fast.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, they also have Jake Odorizzi warming up in the bullpen.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like Odorizzi, who's traditionally a starter, maybe. Well, I mean, they're having him ready for some potential extra innings, maybe even this inning here.
Yeah. So clearly they see him as kind of a relief option, at least in this 3-game series.
Yes. I'd imagine they wouldn't view him that way moving forward.
I think they go through with a full rotation of 5.
I would agree.
Maeda, Barrios,
Pineda.
Thank you. I was blanking on his name. Dobnak. And then Odorizzi. And that's a fine rotation of 5 for a playoff series, if I'm being honest.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I've always been a big fan of Odorizzi. Yeah. I always pick him up in fantasy every year. He's always been someone who I've liked watching pitch. So I'm not quite sure how I performed this year.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I might pull those stats up really quick.
I'm as a Royals fan, I'm grateful he exists more than anything. He was in the trade that got the Royals James Shields and more notably Wade Davis.
Yeah. James Shield, that's a name I haven't heard in a hot minute.
Big game James.
Big game James.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Jake Odorizzi wasn't fantastic this year. It looks like he was hurt a lot.
That's what I thought.
On the IL quite a bit. But 13 2/3 innings pitched. Only 12 strikeouts, a 6.59 ERA, 1.39 WHIP.
So Giolito is at 98 pitches after surrendering a leadoff walk to open the bottom of the 8th inning, and it looks so
Mm.
Renteria is coming out of the dugout. It looks like that'll either be the end of his night, of his day, or we're just gonna check in real quick and make sure everything's all good there. Yeah, Romo's got some pretty serious sweep on that ball.
Oh yeah. And he's got after giving up those first two singles, he's now got 2 outs here.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got stuff, like stuff is gonna always be stuff,
Oh,
you
for
know.
sure. And that's a pretty big recovery. To be able to get to two
Yeah,
outs. And Maldonado,
yeah.
he didn't strike that ball poorly, but he
No,
unfortunately failed to live up to the to your hitting mantra, Diego, of hit it where they're not. So
yeah. I mean, if he just did that, he would have been fine.
I'm sure that's
Yeah.
what
And then,
they'll lecture him on when he gets back to the bench.
why'd you hit it where the defender was? So yeah, now that brings up Springer with 2 on, 2 out. Definitely not a guy, the ideal candidate for
No, yeah, not a guy you want
uh,
to see
this position.
come up to the plate. And Springer's got power, and he can definitely make quality contact here, even with 2 outs.
Absolutely.
Another update from out in Oakland. After the leadoff walk, the um, Giolito has allowed a single to advance the runner to third, and that will be the end of his day. So he's got 7+ innings pitched, no earned runs, I believe 2 hits and not many walks. Um, so he's responsible for the 2 runners on base, but I'd say regardless of what happens with them, that's a fantastic outing.
I would agree. Giolito seemed to have the A's number
Yeah,
today.
he did. Um, and yeah, I think he was right at 100 pitches, maybe 99. So he certainly, didn't burn him out or anything. But
The A's still very much in that ball game though. With a 4-0 lead, 2 on, nobody out. I mean, they can still come back in that one.
yeah, no, they've got a shot, especially with 2 guys on, like you said. Um, so
Yeah. So in this game here, Romo gets the ground out to short. Well, not ground out. Sorry, he got a ground ball to short, and the infield makes a costly error there to load the bases.
oh, that is brutal.
So
You got to make that throw.
not a great throw by Polanco. Uh, Polanco's lucky that that ball doesn't get away from what's his name.
Indeed.
Oh geez, what's his name? It's right there, Arias.
Yeah. Yeah, Polanco was just kind of
Yeah.
sitting back and didn't put much into that throw, and obviously regretted it when we've got the bases loaded now.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Altuve, who's he's been good career wise, but struggled this season.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, obviously it's not an elimination game, but I think it's kind of poetic that Altuve comes up here, bases loaded, top of the ninth, and two
Yeah.
outs. It's all down to him.
Oh yeah. So we'll see here. It's a 1-1 count here. Bases loaded. So we'll see how this ends up playing. Uh, this is the most important at bat of this game thus far.
Yeah, definitely high leverage here. We'll see how this goes for Altuve. I mean, and it's easy to forget on the heels of him having such a struggle this season. Um, last season he was still pretty important in the postseason. I mean, you talk about he hit the home run that sent them over the Yankees to the World Series.
Yeah.
So he's certainly maybe not the first guy you'd choose out of this Astros lineup here, but not the last.
Absolutely. So he can still put together a good at bat. But Romo does still have some great stuff.
Yeah.
So now it's a 2-2 count here. And I think you see Romo's signature no-dot slider here and see what he can do with it.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Ooh, that was a mean pitch to get back in the count.
Yeah, you're still a little bit behind me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, this if there were fans at this field, undoubtedly they'd be going.
Electric right now.
It'd be loud.
And I think that makes it. Makes it a little easy to forget, like how much is on the line here.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah, it's just no one. It's kind of quiet.
Just some cardboard cutouts behind. Zach Greinke's probably still just chilling behind the Astros dugout.
Probably. Yeah, full count here. They do have like the family in the dugout, or not the dugout, the stands. Man, oh man. So yeah, we're just gonna see this here in a second, but the Astros do take a 2-1 lead on the Jose Altuve walk.
Oh man, that's pretty brutal.
So yeah, it's rough for Romo, who is pitching, who frankly not terribly. Like he's making some pretty good pitches here, but he misses the spot there.
He did, and he paid.
Yeah, that error ends up being costly.
Yeah. So that's not an earned run, I believe.
I do not believe so either.
If the expectation is that he's out of the inning, yeah, that run is unearned.
Yes. I think they should charge Polanco with an earned run.
You think they should start doing that to fielders?
Yep. It's like you have an earned run now. Your ERA is infinity.
You have not pitched an inning, but you have an earned run.
Yeah, either way.
Go ahead.
It's a lot. Yeah, either way, base is still loaded. Romo's out of this game. I'm not quite sure who they're bringing in here. Odorizzi is the last person I saw warming up in the bullpen. They might have gotten someone else up by this point. So we'll see how the Twins decide to handle this.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in Oakland, the A's did manage to plate one run, but that's all they have so far with 2 outs and a man on first now. And if they come out of the 8th inning down 4-1, that's still a pretty tough hole to be in, headed into the 9th.
Yeah, I mean, certainly better than being no hit.
I'd say so, yeah. But they get a hit from catcher Sean Murphy, so it's first and second now.
Sean Murphy's been impressive this season.
I think they had him batting 9th, which I'm not totally sure why they would do that. But yeah, Sean Murphy's been solid, been good. And I think gets a little overlooked in the whole rookie discussion. It's not like he deserves Rookie of the Year, but the talk has been pretty much solely between Kyle Lewis and Luis Robert, and Murphy definitely deserves some acknowledgement, especially with what he's done as a catcher.
Oh yeah, the A's pitching staff has been quality this year, and he's played a good portion of that. Can be attributed to him. So we'll see how that game ends up turning out here. Yeah, it looks like the White Sox are bringing in Aaron Bummer. which is an unfortunate last name.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll see how that game ends up. But this game has definitely been kind of flipped on its head.
Yeah, I mean, we went from the Twins with
You
a
know,
1-0 lead to suddenly they're in a hole with just a half inning to try and come out on top, or at least send it to extras.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Aaron Bummer's name also underlines the importance, or underscores the importance of phrasing. The White Sox are bringing in
Yeah.
Aaron Bummer versus the White Sox are bringing in Aaron Bummer.
Yep. Bummer. Aaron, boo. Yeah. But they bring in the Twins. They have Caleb Thielbar.
Thielbar, maybe.
Apologize for that pronunciation. But yeah, either way, Caleb. I'm gonna go with Thielbar.
Thielbar sounds good.
Uh,
I'll jump on that.
yeah. Looked like he was solid for the Twins this
Yeah,
year. 20 inning pitch to a 2.25 ERA, 22 strikeouts.
yeah, yeah, and 9 walks isn't ideal, but he's also 20 innings pitched in 17 appearances. So they could be thinking that
Yes,
if they end up going to extras, he's a guy that they'll send out again for the 10th.
absolutely. And he flips in a 67-mile-per-hour curveball there to get to an 0-2 count on Brantley.
Oh, I love a good slow curve.
The slow curve on, I think, hard to beat a slow
Yeah,
curve. Like just watching it go.
yeah. No, and I get to watch Alec Mills once in a while for the Cubs, and he's kind of, he throws the slowest average curve in baseball, I believe, and
I
yeah,
love
that
that.
Thielbar curve is right up there with it for sure. Or maybe maybe right down there, you'd say.
Yeah, I really miss watching some good Barry Zito
Yeah,
curves.
that was a good curveball.
Barry Zito had a great curve.
It's kind of amazing too, because like if I stepped up on a mound right now, I probably couldn't hit 65 with my fastball if I consider it a fastball. Um,
Oh yeah,
but here they are, and the slowest pitch they throw with that much arc is is a curveball.
faster than anything I could throw. Yep. Yeah, and also Thielbar, however we're pronouncing it, gives up a hit here to Brantley. Plates 2 runs, so now Minnesota in a deeper hole, and so that error for Polanco proving to be extremely costly.
Yeah, indeed. That's a tough one to swallow for the Twins. Really.
Yeah.
Brantley, great job of just sitting back and making solid contact on that slow. That was 69 mile per hour. He just sat back, waited for it, and it was pretty much right in the
Nice.
middle of the zone. Yeah, nice. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a great, great at bat, great hit there.
Thiel, it's Thielbar.
Thielbar.
That's how they just say it on the
Okay, Thielbar.
broadcast. Thielbar.
Yeah, so
Either
so
way,
suddenly the Twins are in the same exact situation as the A's. They've got to come up with 3 runs in the bottom of the inning, and 3 runs if not more. The Astros are still threatening with 2 outs here.
yeah, and that's just to tie the game 4 if they want to win it at this
Yeah,
point.
and we maybe time to reiterate that it hurts a little bit more that they ran through 2, 3, 4 of their lineup without grabbing a run.
Yeah, absolutely. That first inning against Greinke now proving to be really big.
Yeah, then too they ended up getting out of bases loaded without scoring. So
Hmm.
yeah, the Twins had plenty of opportunities to score and to make this a closer game than it currently is, and instead they're looking
Yeah,
at a pretty big 1-0 deficit unless they can come up with something in the bottom of the ninth.
right. And I think now, especially, I think the Astros decide to leave in Valdez.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I think there's absolutely no reason to
And
pull
he
him.
gets the 5 inning save.
Yep,
Actually, that'd be
classic.
a win, just straight up a win for him.
Yeah, you're right.
I wish it was a 5 inning save. That'd be fun.
Those are always fun.
Although,
We're big fans
is
of
it?
those.
I don't know if a 5 inning save is possible
I'm pretty sure it
in
is.
a 9-inning game. You think? Oh yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
They would just.
I think it was
Oh no.
uh
No, I don't think so. I think in a 9-inning game, if you throw at least 5 innings, you get a win, assuming your team wins, and that you left with the lead.
that would also make sense.
Because you have to go 5 innings to qualify for a win as a starter, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So if you come in the same situation Valdez did after the
Mhm.
fourth inning, and then your team, even if your team already had the lead when you come in, if you go the last 5 innings, I'm pretty sure you get the win then.
Yeah. I could have swore there was, maybe it's 4 inning, but I remember seeing it. Or at least I think I remember seeing it earlier this year. Yeah, it was a 4 inning save in the 29-9 blowout from between the Braves and the Marlins.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the more unique
Uh,
saves at any point.
yeah, it was. Uh, Wilson got a 4 inning save in that game for the Braves.
That's funny.
Yeah, Bryce Wilson. And I remember seeing that. I'm like, that feels worse for the Marlins somehow. You know, you think losing 29-9 is bad enough, but then a guy gets a 4 inning save on top of it.
Yeah, and if you put up 9 runs, it's not like you laid over offense wise.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean,
But 20,
the other team puts up 29.
so many runs.
It really
Like I
is.
wasn't watching that game, and I can't even really envision watching that game necessarily because that's just so many runs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was watching the game earlier that week actually, where the Giants beat the Rockies. I believe it was 23-6 or something like that. Like I sat through that game, and I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
But
As a fan of the team that's scoring 29, I think if I were
exactly,
on the defensive end of that 20 whatever to not much, I would I wouldn't be able to make it through that
enjoyed it a
game,
little
I don't
bit.
think.
23-5 was the final score of that
Yeah,
game.
if I were a Rockies fan watching that, I think it would have been off long before it ended.
Yeah. So the Twins finally get out of this inning here, heading to the bottom of the ninth, down 4-1, and that Polanco error might do him in here.
Yeah, looking to prove very, very costly. And
Yeah.
that hurts in a game that matters as much as this one.
Oh yeah. When you're wasting that start by Maeda, that was pretty good.
Yeah,
No runs, over five.
and they just put up that the Twins before this game have lost 16 straight postseason games, and
Well,
if that goes to 17, that's tough to overcome too.
yeah, a Twins team that's also a lot of people have going fairly deep into this postseason,
Yeah, they're uh, they're talented.
or at least a lot of people
They're
thinking,
talented, and
yeah, they're a talented team.
it's maybe it's hard to envision when their offense isn't quite what it was last year, but they it's hard to say that they don't still look like a very good team, and
Yeah,
they're just not coming through.
yeah, definitely so. Yeah. Also, kind of keeping up with the White Sox A's game. Still 4-1 there, but it's 2 outs in the top of the ninth. It gives you an indication of how quickly that game's going and how slowly moving this one's
Yep.
going. Yeah, but we're approaching the 4 hour mark on this game pretty soon.
Yeah, we are. We're coming up on it. We're 3 hours and 44 minutes currently.
Yeah,
So this has been a marathon, and I don't know if anyone has stuck with us for the whole thing, but anyone that's
I doubt
anyone
it.
that's tuning in, we
I don't blame
appreciate
them.
it.
Yeah, don't blame you if you decide not to. But yeah, either way, interestingly enough, Rosario is going to be leading off this inning for the Twins.
Yeah, so that'll be, it'll be. I think it'll be very important, obviously, for the Twins to get something going quickly, because
Mhm.
it'll just feel nice if they can,
Right.
get moving without putting outs up. If they get
Yeah.
down to 2 outs, it'll be tough.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see Rosario swinging for the fences right away.
Yeah, and that's an interesting proposition because it's like, well, maybe that's not what you necessarily would love to see. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see it though. So they are leaving Valdez in this game though,
Yeah.
which I think is a good
So
call.
again, just an incredible performance from Valdez.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone owes him dinner tonight.
That someone is Zach Greinke or literally any Astro
Yeah.
manager, bullpen coach,
Yeah, somebody. That's
athletic
that's for
trainers.
sure.
Yeah. And if he is able to finish off this game here, just one of the best relief appearances period I can remember from any game across the league the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, for sure. And it underscores also just how the role um, that you take on as a later in the rotation. As you're talking about, Rosario opens things up with a swing for the fences.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of your role as a pitcher like Valdez, where you're not necessarily guaranteed to start, especially in a best of 3 like this. But man, he stepped up big.
Absolutely. I think this might even, if the Astros do end up advancing past the series, I think this definitely earns him a start in that
Oh,
series.
no doubt. No doubt about that.
He's like, yeah, I might be young and all, but hey, I proved it out there versus Minnesota.
Right. And yeah, not only a start like a game 4 start, but like if we don't end up going to 5 games, he might get a start in a game 3 situation even.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't actually know who the rest of the Astros rotation is necessarily.
The only two I can recall are Greinke and McCullers.
Right. Yeah, so McCullers would go game 2, but I could absolutely see them giving the ball to Valdez in a game 3 now, and
I could see them giving it to him in a game two.
being very comfortable with it. I mean, Valdez threw the most innings of any Astros pitcher this year, and
Mm-hmm.
he was more valuable than McCullers or he had a better FIP. Yeah.
Yeah. He finally does surrender a hit here, though, to Miguel Sano.
8 innings too late for Sano.
Hey, better late than never.
Perhaps, yeah. Game's not over.
Yeah. And as expected, Ryan Presley is in the bullpen, warming up.
Yeah, and that's the smart option for the Astros, obviously.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is grab this lead and lose it and lose the game. That could immediately go from having things very much in your favor to suddenly swinging things where the Twins feel way better about the rest of this series.
Yeah. As Polanco steps in here, their 7th place hitter. I'm surprised they've chosen not to pinch run for Sano here.
Yeah, I wonder if the Twins see this as we're gonna try and make sure we get to extra innings before we worry about walking off here, because I think in a pinch runner certainly makes things interesting going to extra innings if if that leaves you without Sano in the lineup, because I don't know that they have anyone on their bench that is quite as hard hitting in the lineup as Sano is.
Yeah, I definitely say probably not. But they have Ari Adrianza, who is a quick guy and can definitely play third base.
Because they have Sano at first right now, I believe.
They had Sano at first. He's now at second as Polanco singles to right field.
I think Sano's playing first base.
Oh. Yes.
But Yes. Also, he is
Move
now on
Mar.
second base. And
Yes,
who did they bring up other than William Astudillo?
you're right. Hey, you mentioned earlier how many catchers can we use in one
Four
game?
is the answer.
4 is the answer.
Go Twins.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
great.
Twins got
Great
something
pick
going
by
here now.
Polanco there. They're showing late life.
Hmm.
And shoot, what kind of story would it be if Astudillo comes up with something here?
If you can plant one into the center field bleachers
Oh
here.
man.
So yeah. So after this, if they do end up going uh, 2 extra innings, Astudillo is the catcher moving
Oh
forward.
yeah, all the other catchers are out of the game. That means then.
Hmm. You gotta wonder who their emergency catcher would be in the situation if Astudillo does happen to not be able to continue after this.
Well, yeah, that's true. You think Sano can strap on the
Because
gear?
you honestly probably,
I mean, he's the first one that comes to mind. Um,
I would
I
agree.
think
Yeah,
Nelson Cruz would kind of be hurting back there. If
probably.
they would moving Cruz to a position also mean they surrender their DH for the rest of the game?
I believe so. Gotta play some old school NL ball.
Yeah. Now calling that old school is really accurate.
Yeah, yeah. But as we see here, I think you're still behind me. But William Studio grounds out to third base. Uh, Bregman picks it up, tags the bag, throws it to first, double play, end of the game here.
End of the game.
Houston ends up coming back here, 4-1, and it's just a fantastic performance by Framber
Yeah,
Valdez.
and I mean um, you want to talk about defense. I mean, we said the Astros defense um, is far from great, but
Fantastic.
Bregman came up pretty big 3 different times. The Twins were threatening,
Hmm.
and Bregman comes up with the play
Yep.
that gets the Astros out of it. So
Yep.
maybe not his best day offensively, but great day on defense for Bregman. Great game from Valdez, and the Astros get it done. And they've got a 1-0 lead in this series now that is pretty formidable. I mean, 1-0. We're talking about a way to construct this series that makes it, that gives the um, sorry, excuse me, I'm totally blanking. Um, that gives the higher seeded team a real advantage, and a lot of people say
Hmm.
give them a 1-0 advantage, to start the series. And so now the Astros have captured that, and it's hard to say. That makes things pretty tough for the Twins moving forward. I think
It definitely
they'll put up a
does.
fight in game 2. We think the Twins have a lot more pitching depth than the Astros, which may work in their favor. Um, but the
Hmm.
Astros showed pretty clearly that they're not here to just roll over. Even if they did make the playoffs as one of very few teams under 500 ever to do so, um, they've got some
Uh-huh.
fight, and that'll be interesting moving forward. Um, Certainly a tough loss for the Twins. They'll have to regroup and more than anything figure things out on offense.
Yeah. Ironically enough, it is the defense that does kind of cost them too, though, with Polanco's error proving to be the turning point in this
Yeah,
game.
no, absolutely. Um, and yeah, you talk about really both teams had those opportunities where they got runners on base, and the Twins lost them both on offense and on defense. Polanco gave the Astros
Hmm.
another opportunity. Um, they struck then, and the Twins came up with runners on base several times and failed to plate more than one run.
Yeah, it's very true. And also for anyone who was wondering, right after this game ends, White Sox A's also goes final. White Sox beat the Athletics 4-1 after a fantastic Giolito start.
Yeah, so again, huge win for the White Sox there to take a 1-0 lead in that series, and
Yeah.
yeah, hard. The Indians will have to come back and
them represent the AL Central also. But tough day for
Mhm.
the higher seeds so far.
Yeah. The home teams are not having the best day so far.
So we'll see how tomorrow goes in one of the most loaded baseball days in recent memory.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Um, but we can't wait. We're excited to bring it to you guys and see you guys again then. But that will do it for us and for this broadcast today. We hope those of you who tuned in enjoyed, and happy playoffs, happy baseball to you all, and we'll see you all again soon.
Mhm. Go baseball.
Okay, almost exactly 4 hours.
That's such a long time.
Yeah.
That game was so long. We chose the wrong
We
game.
did choose the wrong game. we could have saved a whole hour.
Yeah, we could have.
Oh my
Man,
gosh.
brutal.
Well, nice work.
Yeah, it was good.
Can't wait to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, see, I'm not on tomorrow. I'm busy tomorrow.
I wish I could do the Cubs game tomorrow. I probably won't be able to, but I might do one of the later games tomorrow night. We'll see.
I know. I might. I don't know. I'm traveling this weekend, so I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to do this weekend or early next week, but we'll see.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I have to go make dinner.
Yeah,
I
same.
didn't think I would actually be.
Gone
Yeah.
this long.
Whatever. We
Yeah.
did it. That was
Yep.
nice.
We finished. Done. All right.
Yeah.
I'll see ya. You too.